yards from a football stadium. Well, that's the same yardage Texas Tech's Patrick Mahomes accumulated last week against Oklahoma. Happens to be an FBS record. I spoke to Patrick this week. The good news, his arm is actually still attached to his body. I told him his 819 yards, well, is roughly a half a mile. He laughed and thought it was nuts. His arm will be ready today, rest assured. His dad was a Major League Baseball player. His hometown buddy, Josh Tomlin, pitches for the Cleveland Indians and pitched in the World Series last night. Mahomes himself, he's a big-time baseball prospect. This year is actually the first time he's concentrated just on football, and it's led to a meteoric jump in his football game, according to head coach Cliff Kingsbury. One last thing, there's actually a teammate who's upset with Mahomes' numbers. That would be wide receiver Jonathan Giles. He loves to play Madden. He can't get his quarterback in that video game to account for 500 yards, let alone 819. As you can see, there's still plenty of tailgaters here, and there's no way I can let you two call this game without me.
You better hustle. It's almost kickoff time here.
That is a long ways away. That is a great visual right there.
You know, Kark always has the escort to the stadium. This is nothing new, by the way. Amon Carter Stadium, Fort Worth, Texas. We welcome you all who just watched Penn State and Purdue go final. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer, Paul Carcaterra is on his way. He was just 800 plus yards away from the stadium. The same distance that Patrick Mahomes, the quarterback for Texas Tech, accumulated last week in a loss, 66-59 to Oklahoma. Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer along with you, and Kark will be here shortly. Kickoff on the way, Texas Tech and TCU in the Big 12. And Texas Tech will have it from the 25-yard line. Patrick Mahomes, 819 total yards. Exactly how far is that is the question. Well, it's 378 of the tallest Texas Tech players on the roster. It's 26 plus NCAA basketball courts. He's a baseball guy, as you heard Kark say, 40 and a half trips to the mound. And if you're into the animal area of our world, 22 of the largest blue whale and 409 giraffe necks is what Patrick Mahomes put together last week.
I love the giraffe necks right there. That finished really well.
409 and a half giraffe necks is what.
That's a lot of giraffe necks.
They throw it 71% of the time. Most in the FBS. The top offense in the FBS, 640 yards a game. Embarks here from the 25-yard line. Mahomes is incomplete, and it's second down.
So many times, Jason, we're going to see today, Texas Tech runs out of an empty set. 5 quick receivers into the pattern at the same time like they did it on first play. Gary Patterson has some decision-making, obviously, to do on the defensive side. Do we get pressure? But Mahomes' best play is when he avoids pressure and gets outside the pocket.
And a scramble mode is dangerous. They only rushed 3 this time, and Mahomes is complete to Jonathan Giles. His favorite target is 54th grab, and it's 3rd and long, which Texas Tech has been the best in the country at 3rd down, 59%.
Unbelievable, 59%. Their average line to make is 8.2 yards. So it's an insane number to begin with, but when you have over 8 yards on average, it absolutely doesn't make any sense, but they are tremendous on third down.
They're going to talk it over this time. Timeout, Texas Tech, 2 plays in Fort Worth. So when you talk about this game, with the way offenses are going, what do you make of what Texas Tech did last week?
I mean, as a former quarterback, initially I love what I see. The more the better, right? But at the same time, I found myself for the first time, Jason, saying this. Do I want college football to be this? And I'm not exactly sure that I do. I mean, the numbers were absolutely staggering. Neither defense had any explanation whatsoever. The records that were broken last week are off the hook. And I don't know that the defense has an answer in sight, to be quite honest with you.
If anybody's going to do it, it would likely be Gary Patterson, the 16th-year head coach at TCU, who is a defensive guru.
This was therapy for me to come in and talk to Gary Patterson yesterday and say, please, brother, give me some answers of what your defense can do about this juggernaut offense that we're seeing.
See how many they rush here on 3rd down and long. against Mahomes, and they like to go empty quite a bit, Texas Tech's Red Raiders. Mahomes on third down. 3 coming. He goes over the middle, and there's that first down. They get 11. They needed 9, and Texas Tech moves the sticks. Tony Brown, who's in for Devin Lauderdale, who did not make the trip, has the first down.
TCU that time only rushed 3. They dropped 8 and are trying to force Mahomes to make quality decisions, be patient in that passing game, and that time he was at converting, finding Tony Brown.
He's got a fullback in this time. That's Mason Reed, along with a freshman running back, DeLeon Ward, and this will be another throw for Mahomes. Moved the feet a little bit and got it across the 45-yard line for Ian Sadler, very close to the marker. This is the opposite of Michigan State's opening drive from earlier against Michigan.
Yeah, throw the ball as much as you can. Michigan State pounded Michigan early in that game.
There is our first run today, and DeLeon Ward navigates across midfield. First down, Texas Tech, averaging over 50 points a game, second in the country.
And Texas Tech will go fast when they're converting and moving the chains. The problem is they haven't been able to go fast enough because they haven't been efficient enough. Their big plays are certainly what's on the table here today, as it was last week against the Sooners.
Mahomes, 2,200 first half pass yards. And he's got another completion across the 45-yard line to Cameron Batson, his 42nd grab.
So what you're going to see is the RPO like we saw on that, the run-pass option. Is it a zone run between the tackles? If you react to that as a TCU defense, then Mahomes throws it outside.
Those first half pass yards, by the way, would be 14th in the country overall if they were his season total. Mahomes out of the backfield, Ward, and DeLeon Ward, little sidestep just short of the 35-yard line. Very close to the marker, and our impact players.
Yeah, Jonathan Giles is the touchdown maker, 11 on the year. He's the big play target for Mahomes down the field. And then James McFarland and Josh Carraway are the edge setters. Texas Tech's biggest and best play offensively is when Mahomes avoids the rush and gets outside the pocket. Those two defensive ends have to keep the quarterback Mahomes inside the pocket today. Easier said than done, by the way, Jason.
Yeah, that's no fun to try and execute that game plan. It is a first down for Texas Tech, and Mahomes will throw on first down. Loads of time, scramble mode, and he is taken down a half yard behind the line by Aaron Curry, who had 4.5 sacks coming in.
And James McFarland, one of those defensive ends that we just talked about, did a good job of forcing Mahomes up in the pocket. That's the key. Defensive ends have to run a long edge and force Mahomes up in the pocket. And TCU, I think, has the advantage at the defensive tackle position, with Aaron Curry in particular being a difference maker.
Nebraska transfer Curry with a sack that time, officially a loss of 1. Mahomes fading, throws it, and it is intercepted at the goal line. Mahomes picked off for the 7th time this year. It's Nick Orr in coverage for TCU, his 4th pick to lead the team.
That's the exact kind of play that Oklahoma did not make many times last week.
This time, Orr does the trick for TCU. Usually an opportunistic defense. The opening turnover goes to the guys in purple at home. quarterbacks who are the sons of former Major League pitchers. Kenny Hill, the son of Ken Hill, the Cy Young runner-up in 1994. 14 years in the MLB. Pat Mahomes, most of the time a reliever at the end of his career, played in the World Series in 2000. And his son, Patrick, just threw an interception. Kenny Hill, the quarterback for TCU. And because no momentum was taking Orr into the end zone, TCU has it at the 1-yard line and will run the ball with Kyle Hicks. Very talented, dual threat. Gets 5. Second down coming up. Mahomes and Hill, by the way, played a little baseball together. Travel team baseball back in the day. Kenny
what
Hill
a staff that would have been.
Oh my goodness. Kenny Hill from South Lake, Texas, and Mahomes from White House, Texas, and East Texas. Couple of weeks together, they got to know each other, and here they go as the sons of former Major League pitchers. Second down for Hill in the offense, and we see Hicks one more time, picking his way through, and a nice run by Hicks for a first down. The junior moves the chains.
And all we can say about Kenny Hill, and he is the dual threat guy, and he is a viable runner of the football in that quarterback read game. But the best player on offense for TCU is Kyle Hicks. If he doesn't touch the ball in some way, shape, or form 25 to 30 times, I think the play callers for TCU haven't done their job well today.
Doug Meacham, Sonny Cumbie, the co-offensive coordinators for TCU, with Hicks out, limping off. Travaris Johnson has come in, and Hill will throw high for Taj Williams. Second down, TCU. Not a bad offense in its own right, about 36 points a game.
No, and that was a really good decision and a very quick decision by Kenny Hill, and that's where he has to live today, Jason. Sometimes he's been a little undecisive, and there's Hicks coming off, and that will be huge if he can't return, but we'll wait and see on that. But Kyle Hicks is the difference in the run game. The run game ability by TCU takes bullets away from Pat Mahomes on the other side.
Travaris Johnson on the run, and Malik Jenkins drags him down. Kyle Hicks is one of 5 guys nationally over 500 yards rushing, 300 receiving.
And he is a tremendous, not just a running back catching balls, he's a tremendous, almost next level route runner. I mean, he runs routes against linebackers and safeties like wide receivers would. So that will be huge depending on the health right now of Kyle Hicks.
Kenny Hill goes empty on 3rd down and 7 for TCU off the Texas Tech turnover. Hill over the middle and a jumping grab. Desmond White in traffic just short of the 30-yard line, gain of 15, first down.
Desmond White jumping inside of Johnson, the safety that particular time, and that was the outlet receiver for the pressure that Texas Tech was bringing defensively that time.
Texas Tech, the second worst defense in the country, allowing 530-plus yards a game behind defensive coordinator David Gibbs, just getting his feet wet in that spot. Hill breaks down on the run and zigzags past Chris Williams, the defensive end. It's a gain of 5. Colin Hill, the other end, stopped him.
And TCU showing their desire to go fast today as well.
Johnson sets up a 3rd down and a couple. Well, look, Gary Patterson has really morphed as a coach since TCU entered the Big 12.
And I think he saw the writing on the wall. He went out and basically got the air raid offense in the form of Doug Meacham and Sonny Cumbie to come here. And it's worked very well. The last 2 years are the most points scored in school history. Couple that with the defense that Gary Patterson already plays.
3rd down for Hill. Quick set to the outside. Deontay Gray and a first down. Clark.
That's the down you want Kyle Hicks on the field if you're TCU. He's like a Swiss Army knife. Jason, you mentioned 500 yards rushing, 300 yards receiving, only 5 players nationally. Right ankle, could hardly put any pressure on it right now.
And so it's Shewo Olanalua on the run for a first down, and that's a nice replacement. The freshman out of Kingwood High School gets 11.
And regardless of who carries it, the run game for TCU means something much different than the lack of the run game does for Texas Tech. One team desires to establish and be somewhat balanced, which is TCU. Texas Tech doesn't care about the run game much at all.
Run it again. Olanalua dragging tacklers to the 40 as we say hi to Chris Hassel. I don't know that you want to be Northwestern today. That's not the team you want to be wearing purple after Ohio State's loss. Oh boy. First down, Alana Lua tackled by Jenkins, and there's the run game for TCU.
Run game equals ball possession, and that's what TCU wants to do against this high-flying, needless to say, Texas Tech offense.
Which just substituted. Texas Tech defensively did. Johnson out as a safety, and there's a line drive to Daniel Walsh, who got his first start last week. He led the team in targets, a kid from San Diego who came here because of LaDainian Tomlinson's career.
And dependable. That's why Walsh is in there. There have been some miscues between quarterback and a receiving court that he doesn't know very well. And they're picking up the pace the more the season progresses, and Daniel Walsh is one of those dependable, trustworthy guys out there.
Watch the guy in the slot at the bottom of your screen. Kevontae Turpin, back from injury. One of the leaders on this team in terms of yards per touch. Back for the first time since September. It goes that way, but it's Walsh sitting down to make the catch just short of the 10-yard line. And Daniel Walsh knocks down 7 yards.
And I like the decisiveness right now of Kenny Hill. Remember, this air raid offense is based on taking what the defense gives you, which typically means you can make really quick decisions and get the ball out with on time, and that's what Kenny Hill is doing currently.
Michigan transfer Derek Green is in, and the former Wolverine, Green, very close to the 10-yard line. Kevontae Turpin has been out, as we mentioned, injured in that Iowa State game. He was leading the nation in all-purpose yards per game after a pair of weeks.
Gary Patterson told us that his offense needs to get their swagger back, and Turpin is their swagger guy. They actually have Terp touches. How many times can we get little number 25 to football today?
Third and short, read option. Hill has the first down inside the 10-yard line. Malik Jenkins pressed into action again for the tackle with Justice Nelson. First and goal.
Jason, this is when I think TCU's offense is at their best, when Kenny Hill is a viable option in the run game, and we see it right there. Making a really good decision in that run game and getting around the edge in that quarterback read play.
Green and Johnson both in, and it's Green one more time. Got about half the yardage as TCU's put together 8 first downs on this drive that started at its own 1-yard line.
And this is where you have to see how TCU is going to finish drives. Kyle Hicks is typically their drive finisher. It looks they're going to go to more of a wildcat type offense right now with Kenny Hill out wide to the left.
Alana Lua, the freshman running back, is back there with Green. And it's Green on the run, on the direct snap. Touchdown, TCU, Derek Green. Well, one way to neutralize a record-setting offense is to go 99 yards on 17 plays.
99 and maybe even a half, and you take your quarterback out wide and you put another pounder running back up inside, and Green leads up inside and they pay it off. But what a way to start. All of that time, a guy named Patrick Mahomes is on the sideline. That's the best of all of that.
Just cooling his heels with that Texas Tech offense that averages 50 points a game. An interception for the TCU defense trying to mount the turnover numbers. They haven't happened as frequently this year for TCU's defense. They kept one here, then Green into the end zone on the touchdown to cap a 99-yard drive.
It's Next Level Lux. Brought to you by the new 2016 Lexus ES and ES Hybrid. It's Next Level Lux.
Kelly, it's the 25th anniversary of Boo at the Zoo. a Halloween-themed activity for children at the Fort Worth Zoo.
That looks like a lot of fun.
You're going to go.
Where was the giraffe? Didn't we have like 78 giraffes or something earlier in the show?
Well, you can't spell giraffe
We
without
have 40
riff.
of them. Boo at the zoo. I like it.
What are you going as for Halloween this year, huh?
I'm going as a guy who sits in his lounger on the ranch.
That sounds like a by experience sort of costume.
We don't have neighbors. We can't trick or treat where we come from.
Let's do our Polaris Drive recap, shall we?
That sounds good. And the theme of this drive is the fact that Pat Mahomes is sitting on the sideline, but this started roughly inside the 1 yard line, and Kenny Hill was sharp early, throwing the ball on time and decisively, and he goes out wide on that play, and Green just hammers it. That looks like a drive that can win against an offense that throws for 734 and has a total offense of 819.
Brock Heward said at the top of that Michigan State game, if you want to watch flashy offenses, turn on the Big 12 later. Well, that was a Michigan Big 10-like drive for TCU that we saw the first time as the ball comes loose. Ball is loose and down on the ground, and it looks like Texas Tech is back on it. DeLeon Ward put it on the carpet here in Fort Worth, and he is down. Well, the freshman DeLeon Ward just never secured that football.
You know, and that's what you worry about with freshmen. It's pass protection, and can they hold up on that end? But it is also ball security. That was just an arm on the ball, and that happens every time you carry it typically.
TCU 2 years ago was +8 turnover margin. Last year even. This year just 10 takeaways coming into this drive.
Yeah, they're -4 on the year, which is highly unusual because this is a defense that has 27 sacks. They're second to some team named Alabama nationally. And typically pressure results in takeaways. That's kind of the way it works. And TCU just hasn't seen it, but Gary Patterson thinks his group is close. And the way that Nick Orr played the ball in the air on that first interception, maybe he's exactly right.
Orr with 4 of the 6 picks this year for TCU now as they show a 3-man front. And they will come with 3. Mahomes to the sideline. That's incomplete. He wanted Dylan Cantrell, who's been dealing with a hand injury, and it ends up on the deck, 3rd and long.
So this is a page out of West Virginia defensively. Sometimes you show pressure and then you drop 8 and only rush 3. Remember, TCU is typically a 4-man front. 4-man, 2 linebackers, and they play with their nickel, and that time they were only rushing 3.
Trayvon Howard in the middle of that defense. There is Howard creeping up to the line. And he will come on a delay. Mahomes is down.
That ball came out too.
Ball live, and now it's blown dead. That was a live ball, and TCU has the football. The officials let it play. It will be reviewed up here. We'll see if they stop the game for it.
Yeah, that ball came out right away. When TCU is hunting well defensively, they attack the football, not just the guy with the football. And Mahomes got a little slack with the ball, and it was knocked away right at the end. You could see right there, the ball is out. The 3rd defender that arrived at the quarterback knocked that ball loose, and the officials saw it. That's exactly why they let it play out. And TCU apparently has their 2nd turnover.
Matt Boson was the one to knock it free. If it stands, it would be his 2nd forced fumble of the year. Two drives, 2 turnovers for Texas Tech. A team that came in having just 9 turnovers for the season in 7 weeks. So Kenny Hill in the offense. Set up shop just short of the 20-yard line. Quick set. And right at the 20-yard line, it's a sliding grab for a gain of 2. It's Anderson there with the grab. And second down and long coming up. Darius Anderson, the freshman running back. Second down. Kyle Hicks still out. Hill over the middle and incomplete for Taj Williams. Third down, Chris Hassel. Chris, thank you. A lot of offense in that one, and a lot of offense still to come. Kavontae Turpin has checked in for TCU. Trying to break down the door off the turnover. It's a lob for Williams, and it's incomplete. So Texas Tech holds the line here off the fumble.
TCU went with a stacked set outside, and Taj Williams ended up running the fade outside because of the pressure up inside. Kenny Hill kind of threw off his back foot and just threw it way too deep into the end zone, actually completely out of the end zone. Williams had a step, drop it in his shirt pocket, and that one had a chance.
Instead, it's a 37-yard try for Brandon Hatfield, who's won the job in recent weeks. Hatfield is up and no good. Well, the horn went off in the stadium, but not for the right reason. Texas Tech gives up no points. Off the turnover, still 7-0.
Fort Worth, last year's game was a barn burner to say the least. TCU comes off victorious with a 55-52 score. The last play of the game was incredible from a TCU standpoint. I'm joined with these two TCU legends. Josh Dotson, currently playing with the Washington Redskins, Aaron Green with the LA Rams. And I'll start with Josh. Josh, 18 catches on the afternoon. You didn't catch the 19th. What was that play drawn up to be?
That play was drawn up for Aaron Green, the toe tap in the back of the end zone. Yeah.
Aaron, when you saw that ball tipped, what was the first thing on your mind?
Like I said, it was crazy because I wasn't really supposed to be over there. I'm so used to Josh catching everything. But, you know, our coaches, they always preach follow the ball, man. So I saw the ball. It was a little too high, and I was already in the area. So I was, you know, like, this is my chance to win the game for our team. And, you know, that's what I did.
And Josh had those 18 grabs, over 260 yards. You're now with the Washington Redskins, playing in the Big 12. How does that prepare a wide receiver for the next level?
I mean, well, usually defenses are deflated in the Big 12. So, I mean, you'll get your chances. You'll get your chance to, you know, have passes thrown your way. You just got to execute, make the most of it. But, yeah, I mean, it's helped me out mostly because of TCU offense. Coach Cumbie and Meach, how they came in and just reorganized it for us.
Your story is incredible. You're a walk-on. You started your playing career at Wyoming. You come to TCU. And there's actually a walk-on right now that I know you're very close to in Daniel Walsh. He actually accompanied you to the NFL draft when you were taken in the first round by the Redskins. What has been your advice to Daniel now that he's a walk-on and got that first start last year?
I mean, like you said, man, I see Daniel. That's me. That's me walking right there. His heart, his passion for the game, and just his humbleness, how he carries himself. And, you know, I took him to the draft because I wanted him to see it, man. You could be here if you wanted to, man. I was where you were at, and just hard work, dedication, and prayer, man. You'll get where you're supposed to be at.
Aaron, you started your career at Nebraska playing for Coach Gary Patterson. What's that like?
It's a humbling experience, man. Coach Patterson, he's taught me so much about the game, but even more so about life. And he set such a strong culture here at TCU. And you have so much pride about the university and about the program that you take it to the next level, man. That you never back down, you always fight, and no matter what, man, you give it your all.
Gentlemen, great seeing you. Best of luck in the pros and outstanding careers here.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Great to hear from two TCU greats who put together one of the wackiest final plays an offense will run for a long time in this series, as Texas Tech is driving the ball well for the first time today. They had a pretty good drive the first time they owned possession, but a turnover ended that drive. And Justin Stockton is in as the tailback after the fumble from DeLeon Ward, as Tipa Galii made the stop, the sophomore defensive end.
The key in what you said, Jason, is Texas Tech is driving the football. TCU wants to force them to drive the football, prove that they can be efficient enough to drive the football in order to get points. And in that first drive, we saw that the first two drives, we saw that that wasn't the case. Without the big play, where does Texas Tech set?
This is a run for Mahomes, and he can't shirk the tackle. He's down, and we'll check in with Chris in the studio. That's good news for some folks who have seen a beleaguered season. And that'll do it for the first quarter from here in Fort Worth. The defense for the Horned Frogs pitching a shutout against Pat Mahomes and Texas Tech.
Texas Tech 7-0. Two quarterbacks that run high-scoring offenses. Mahomes has a huge arm, as does Kenny Hill. Mahomes avoids the rush, unlike most people in the country at that position, leads to big plays. A run threat in the run game for TCU is Kenny Hill, and questionable decision making. We've already seen a little bit of that out of Pat Mahomes. So far, so good for Kenny Hill. These offenses obviously have more to say here this afternoon.
Just 56 total yards for Mahomes in the first quarter, only 6.5% of his output from last week. Mahomes on the scramble. He is so dangerous there, and he shows the ball to the marker for a first down inside the 40. They needed 8 and got 9, the best team on third down in the country.
You can't let Pat Mahomes do that. Nothing outside the pocket in that first quarter. TCU defensively was immaculate in terms of setting an edge and keeping Mahomes inside.
DeLeon Ward had the earlier fumble, and he is tripped up by Sammy Douglas after a gain of 4. Second down. So Texas Tech, which set a bundle of FBS records last week in a loss to Oklahoma, has been held down pretty well so far.
TCU is doing a lot of different things, actually kind of West Virginia-esque defensively. Rushing 3 a lot of times and dropping 8, which forms a lot of clutter on the back end out of Texas Tech's empty set, putting 5 wides into the route right now.
Mahomes to Ward, who came out of the backfield, and he is doused at the 34. Another third down coming up. Denzel Johnson knocked him down. College football playoff rankings are coming out this week, Tuesday, and the chairman of the committee happens to be the athletic director at Texas Tech, and he will join us later. Kirby Hocutt, the chairman of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, will be downstairs with Paul Carcaterra later on this afternoon. For now, his Red Raiders have a third down. They have been brilliant on third down so far today. Mahomes lofting it down the middle. Touchdown! Reggie Davis, a 34-yard strike.
Reggie Davis beats Julius Lewis deep. That's when Mahomes is dangerous, when he avoids a little bit of pressure, steps up in the pocket or gets outside, and he wants to grab you by the throat. He wants to throw the ball deep, as he does right there to Davis, who gets over top on Lewis on that deep post route late down the middle.
Clayton Hatfield the extra point. Davis was a big touchdown maker last year. He had 12 receiving touchdowns last season. This is just his second. It comes from Patrick Mahomes, and we are even from Fort Worth.
Tuesday at 7 on ESPN.
The unbeatens are dwindling in college football. The rankings will come out, and they won't include West Virginia. A loss in the Big 12 on the road earlier today by 17 at Oklahoma State. And two teams that won't be in the playoff, but certainly are jockeying for bowl position. And the offenses have started to come to life in a 7-7 tie from Fort Worth. So Texas Tech on the drive gets Patrick Mahomes to go 4 for 4, 62 yards. He had a 9-yard run on 3rd and 8, and that moved the sticks to allow for the touchdown to Reggie Davis. And the ball has fallen off the tee. You would think with all of the progress we've had in technology across the country.
Got to fix that, right?
Yeah. Somebody's got a patent.
I don't think there are many people in the world thinking about that problem.
You don't?
I don't think so.
We've mismanaged our time then. This is
maybe
important.
Maybe you can get on that.
I'm kind of busy for the next couple hours. TCU will get it back from the 25-yard line. The chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee, Kirby Hocutt, is downstairs with Paul Carcaterra.
Well, thank you, Jason. Kirby, big day Tuesday, right? Tuesday night. The rankings are released on our air on ESPN, but we've had 9 weeks of college football. So what's been the focus leading up to today in regards to watching football for you and that committee?
Well, we've got 12 members of the College Football Selection Committee, and all of us have been preparing on our own, watching all the games, looking at the data and statistics, and we're looking forward to Monday and Tuesday coming together for the first rankings of this season.
For you personally, describe what a typical week is watching college football.
Well, for me, I'm always at our game on a Saturday and commit Saturdays, Sundays, and some of Mondays and Tuesdays on catching up to all the action, watching games, looking at the data. And starting this week, we'll be arriving in Dallas on Sunday night, spend Monday and Tuesday with the selection committee. So it's an exciting time of the year for all of us.
When the viewers step away on Tuesday night after the show, they will be able to tell that the committee valued or prioritized what?
Well, I think overall team performance, and our focus, our mission is simple. That's to rank the top 25 teams and select the four very best teams for inclusion into the semifinals. So I think it's a combination of what we see on the fields and their performance over the 7, 8, 9 games, however many times they've played this year.
Big day. Before I let you go, you got to tell me, who do you have as 1, 2, 3, and 4?
Tune in Tuesday night. We'll look forward to the show.
Thank you, Kirby. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Kirby spent some time with our programming department. That's what we call a tease in the industry.
No kidding. That was quite a tease. He's new at this. Jeff Long got booted apparently, and Kirby's in, and he's already taken over.
Jeff Long did a great job. It's a rotating spot.
Fantastic job. I know, it was tongue-in-cheek. I had dinner with Jeff at one of our seminars, and he educated me greatly on the process. But he's a hard act to follow, to be quite honest with you. He did a tremendous job.
Well, the good news for TCU right now is that Kyle Hicks is back in. He went out on the opening drive, and the multifaceted running back gets it again as he's toppled by Malik Jenkins. 2nd down and 6, TCU.
And Kyle Hicks is the take the air out of the ball guy and keep it away from Patrick Mahomes. And the more touches 21 gets as he's coming off the field right now, but it's good to see him back out there. But the run game needs to be certainly a viable part of the game plan for Doug Meacham and Sonny Cumbie here today.
The 76th best rush game in the country statistically. As Johnson is back in as the tailback, Hicks is out, and Kenny Hill takes it himself, veering through traffic, and Hill has a first down. Nifty run by Kenny Hill. It's a gain of 11.
And Kenny Hill's feet, I think, to some extent, are underrated in this offense. Sometimes a good decision results in this. Nothing open down the field, 3-man rush, drop 8, And 8 sometimes in zone coverage leaves seams that Kenny Hill can exploit like he did right there.
Remember his first game at Texas A&M, 511 yards at South Carolina. He burst onto the scene, ended up getting benched after a 3-game losing streak, had some off-field troubles as well. But according to the Texas Tech coaches, he has absolutely grown up. He's been nothing of a problem here, and he's settled into the starting job quite well.
You know, and he's in charge of communicating the system out on the field. So he has a lot of verbiage before the snap, and then his job is to distribute the football. Sometimes the decision is you keep it yourself, and he did on the play before.
This is Kevontae Turpin. They call him Turp Touches, and he zigzags through the defense on a rather electric Turp touch. First and goal, TCU.
5'9", $150. We see a Texas Tech player down, but try to catch this guy out in a windstorm. He blows about, and you have a hard time getting a hand on him, let alone getting him to the ground. That's the first time we've seen the Turp touch here today, and it was an exciting one.
The injured Texas Tech player is Andre Pipkins, the senior defensive lineman. But on Turpin, Gary Patterson said, look, I'll take 100 of him. Give me 100 of him, we'll line it up and play.
And guys like that aren't recruited typically because of the size, and you have to, you know, fit a certain metric. But man alive, is he a tremendous player. He's electric every time he touches it.
Pipkins is down and injured for Texas Tech. We'll step aside. TCU is driving in the second quarter. By Goodyear, West Virginia has already lost outside of that top 5. Alabama, Michigan with a win. Clemson, a huge one at Florida State tonight in primetime. And West Virginia in that 10 spot takes the loss to the Big 12. So Oklahoma State, which has its only loss to Baylor in conference, threatening in that top 3 again.
Yeah, and all of those, a lot of those teams being tested on the road. You know, can you pack up an offense, defense, and special teams and win in a hostile environment? Champions typically do that, but we'll see how many of those teams survive the night.
All of that with the college football playoff rankings coming at 7 Eastern on Tuesday. First release this week on ESPN. Turpin in motion. Green is hit in the backfield, and Green is dropped by Braden Fajoko, the former Under Armour All-American, for a loss of 2.
Fajoko does a great job of reading the polar. When the guy in front of you pulls, you basically get in his hip pocket, and he's going to lead you to the play, and that's exactly what happened. Fajoko just blew that up before that play could get started outside.
They'll go empty. Kenny Hill to Anderson, and he dropped the ball. Darius Anderson had it clang off his hands. 3rd and goal.
Bring up 36.
And that's the 3rd drop. That was Anderson that particular time. Taj Williams has 2 of them. And TCU has seen too much of that offensively. That's where there's a little inefficiency. Not completing the play and sustaining the drive. That's a big one right there.
Anderson out. Olanolua is in. He's been the 3rd down back today. Texas Tech jamming the box. 4 wide for TCU, and Hill on the lob, and way too much. He wanted Ty Slanina, Johnson on the coverage, and 4th down as TCU is bogged down twice near the red zone. You can kick the field goal, right?
Yeah, I think you kicked the field goal in a couple of nice series for TCU, or for Texas Tech defensively. Remember after that turnover on the Mahomes fumble, the missed field goal, that Texas Tech didn't give up any points. And right here, more and more, college football is about not what you do between the 20s, but what you do in the red zone and on 3rd down, and Texas Tech survived this one.
Hatfield missed from 37 earlier. He drills this one from 23. This beautiful campus in Fort Worth has the home team leading by 3 in the first half.
Brought to you by Engines and Generators from Kohler. In power since 1920. And Cadillac.
In the You Learn Something New Every Day department, the Fort Worth Stockyards are the last standing stockyard in the United States. Operated since 1866 in the historic district in Fort Worth. TCU has taken a 10-7 lead on a field goal from Brandon Hatfield. Texas Tech, a team that has 5 games this year out of 7 in which they've scored 28 or more in the first half, and this is a bloop kick that was barely rescued right around the 30. Chris? That has turned quickly in Salt Lake City. Game day was there this morning as a fake by Mahomes, and he's to the 35. How great was Frank Caliendo on game day?
He was
this morning?
tremendous. Yeah, he was very, very good.
He does an outstanding Morgan Freeman.
John Gruden just cracks me up. I mean, he's better than Gruden is at being Gruden. I don't know how that's possible. That was a broken play by Pat Mahomes, by the way. That was going to be a draw, and he missed the handoff and then had to run it himself and got 2 out of nothing.
So 2nd and 8 for Mahomes, and a quick set leads to a completion across the 40 to Tony Brown. Kark?
Patrick Mahomes certainly more involved in this offense. First time he hasn't been playing baseball in the offseason, and it's paid off in terms of his instincts, his awareness of the playbook. Also spent some time this summer at the Manning Passing Academy as a counselor, and Peyton Manning told him, if you're not taking notes, Patrick, you're not dissecting film and you're not getting it. So he has 2 notebooks at all times. I spoke to him this week, one at the facility, one at his apartment.
Yeah, he's learned very much about how to read safeties as he goes deep here. Down the sideline, too much for Dylan Cantrell. It would have been 6 instead. 2nd down, as Mahomes is always going to fight that system quarterback thing that Graham Harrell and Cliff Kingsbury and everybody fights.
And we see that overthrow to Cantrell. It was the bubble screen outside and the fake, and then Cantrell goes over the top of Nico Small, and that was a huge missed opportunity by Mahomes. Has a cannon, but just overshot the receiver there.
That's a bullet, a little bit too high, but very much catchable for Jonathan Giles. It's 3rd down.
And you talked about the system quarterback reputation, and Mahomes is responsible to overcome that. I mean, because quarterbacks have to do some things well. Footwork, you see right there, that was an all-arm type of throw, a little bit inaccurate, but it's about reading defenses and throwing the ball consistently accurate because of being able to use good footwork.
Broken play, looks like offside is coming. There's a flag down, it's our first flag, and so our first opportunity to see Dan Romeo, our referee.
Offside, defense, number 54, 5-yard penalty. 3rd down.
It's on Joseph Broadnax, the sophomore out of Dallas.
And the reason it looked like the snap was a little bit premature is because the center Morales saw Broadnax offsides, and so he snapped it. Typically, this quarterback is underneath center, or I shouldn't say typically anymore, in days gone by. And so they would just snap it really quickly and get those free 5 yards. Good job by Morales on that play.
So it's third down for Texas Tech. 3rd and 5. They've got to get to the 47. Mahomes under pressure. It was coming from Caraway, and upfield they go to the 40-yard line. It's a gain of 12 to Dylan Cantrell on Julius Lewis.
Texas Tech's best play is when Patrick Mahomes gets on the move. That time Cantrell was covered 2.5 seconds before he caught the ball, but his quarterback gets out the pocket. The eyes get wrong defensively in coverage, and then Mahomes is the type of guy that throws much better on the run than most people in the country.
You think it's maybe their best play?
Oh, I agree. I think when it's outside the design and Mahomes is on the run, it's lethal.
Pressure coming this time. Free runner. Mahomes hit as he throws, and he gets it up anyway for Cameron Batson inside the 25-yard line. They had a bunch of those last week against Oklahoma.
I mean, it's that kind of stuff. When the ball is in the air this long, TCU cannot allow Texas Tech to come down with it.
Mahomes, incomplete. Boy, Sammy Douglas was right in his face on that long pass inside the 25, and Mahomes hung in there well.
Mahomes has the ability to kind of throw from awkward places. Guys in his face, out on the edges, running around for 5 seconds, throwing a little bit off platform, off balance, and he typically gets the ball where he wants it. It's unbelievable.
2nd down. A little bit of a corner blitz look and a whistle before the snap. It's a timeout, Texas Tech, with the play clock getting down to 2. We'll step aside. Texas Tech on the march, looking for its first lead in this game. In the NFC North, the Vikings and the Bears. From Chicago, 8:15 Eastern on ESPN. Coverage starts with Monday Night Countdown, served by Applebee's at 6, also streaming live on Watch ESPN. The question is, how will a portion of Chicago feel at that point, with the Cubs trailing 2-1 in the World Series? As it stands, Texas Tech, 2nd down, out of the timeout. Mahomes shuffles his feet and throws into twin coverage. It's 3rd down coming up for the Red Raiders. Jonathan Giles, bracketed in part by Sammy Douglas.
Yeah, Sammy Douglas did a great job. He's one of the 2 linebackers in. 3 down linemen, 2 linebackers, and 6 defensive backs. 3 of those defensive backs are safeties, and Douglas did a good job of squeezing the route.
Texas Tech loves using the trips formation. They have 3 at the top on 3rd down and 10. Mahomes with time. Out of the pocket. Mahomes, eyes upfield toward the end zone. Incomplete, too much. Giles again, the intended target. And 4th down as Traven Howard was in on the coverage.
Traven Howard, a strong outside linebacker. He's more like a strong safety, covering Giles clear down in the end zone. And once again, Mahomes does get outside the pocket. But TCU held up in coverage really well. In particular, Traven Howard deep in the end zone on a go-to receiver with 11 touchdown passes on the year.
Clayton Hatfield's long for the year is 43. This is a 42-yard kick to tie the ball game. It is up for Hatfield, and it's good. So each Hatfield has kicked a field goal.
You want to say something about a McCoy or something, don't you? Somewhere in there is a McCoy.
Oh, not at all. They're the real thing.
This is a win for TCU defensively. Only 3 on the board. Than he is inside the pocket. TCU has played well defensively. 10 points on the board with just under 7 minutes left in this half. That's a tremendous effort by TCU, mainly because they've been able to corral Patrick Mahomes, and those big plays are few and far between.
Kickoff leads to a touchback, and we check in with Chris in the studio. Equanimous St. Brown, whose father was a Mr. Universe. Speaks multiple languages. Dad was a bodybuilder. Smart guy. And a blowout for Notre Dame. TCU ball at the 25. Shewo Olanalua is the tailback. We saw Kyle Hicks go down to the first series. He's since returned, but out for this. As this goes to the outside for Deontay Gray, the senior wide receiver. He gained 7. Quiet year this year for Gray, who's one of the fastest guys on the team. TCU trying to get to 5-3. This goes the other way, and to the sideline, it's Gray for the first down. Clark?
You see Turpin onto the field after injury the last few weeks, 25 in purple. They have him listed at 5'9", 153. Maybe he's out. I was watching him in warm-ups. He was gliding and bouncing. I asked Gary Patterson if he had to be convinced to recruit him. He said, not when I went to his school and I saw him go on one of his teammates' shoulders while the kid was standing up and leaped over him.
Yeah, he's about a 6-foot guy, just flat-footed, jump over people.
Jump over the top of him. Why not? At about 5'7 and a half.
Nice Friday afternoon for you. Turpin turns on the Jets. There's the big playability for Kavontae Turpin inside the 45-yard line of Texas Tech, gain of 20.
I mean, it's hard to explain how quick the guy is in space. I mean, it's almost absolutely unbelievable.
This time, Olanalua trying to exploit that run defense of Texas Tech, and it's second down and manageable.
I mean, it's just a matter of giving Turk the ball and then letting him do this. I mean, he can stop on a dime, redirect, and he doesn't want to take a hit at 5'7 and a half either, and I don't blame him. He gets down on the play. Turp touches. We'll look for more of them as this game plays out.
They're going to start calling it Turpin time here in Fort Worth. Johnson on the ground, and he's ripped down by Malik Jenkins, who has had a heavy load tackle-wise this afternoon. Senior linebacker for Texas Tech.
This is where TCU really needs to be efficient. Obviously, 3rd and makeable, 3rd and 3 or less needs to be a given for them today to possess the ball, not only to get points, but to keep Texas Tech and Patrick Mahomes on the sideline.
Moving down to 4.5 in the first half from sunny Fort Worth. Kenny Hill on 3rd down goes for it all down the sideline. He wanted Jalen Austin. There was contact with DJ Polite-Bray.
This might be 4-down territory. You're in that where it would be a long field goal, and people here thought there was interference. Just the outside release by Austin. Just a little bit of infighting, and I think that was a good no call.
Well, it looks like it's going to be punt time for Adam Nunez, the freshman for TCU.
Alert fake right here with only 4th and 3.
Trying to plant it inside the 20. And Nunez gets a nice bounce, but it's picked up maybe in an ill-advised fashion. This college football season, stream every game live on the ESPN app and on Watch ESPN. Download the app or visit watchespn.com today. We're doing what you're doing. Just before we come on the air, we were sitting here watching Louisville, Virginia go final. We were watching Penn State and Purdue. You can do the same in your house. Now Texas Tech offensively, frankly, the defense has played well for a team that had the second worst scoring defense in the country coming in.
I think both defenses have held up really well in this first half. That was a little conservative by TCU. That surprised me a little bit to not go for it right there on 4th and 3. You didn't gain a whole lot by punting the football.
Saw hand signals there from Mahomes, maybe changing the play, and the call is to DeLeon Ward, who crashes across the 15-yard line, and it's second down.
And Gary Patterson is giving some really, really inviting run looks for Texas Tech to run into. They're not really a run team. They really don't desire to run the football, and so therefore they're not all that efficient at it. And Gary Patterson is doing everything he can to convince him to run the ball with only 3 down linemen and 2 other linebackers in the box.
He's cagey yesterday. He said, we've got some looks for the boys in the tank. As this goes to DeLeon Ward. He's 1-on-2, and he nearly broke it. Downstairs, Clark.
Monitor the left thumb of Patrick Mahomes, the Texas Tech quarterback. I've seen that thumb now taped with white tape. Now it's black tape. And every time I've been observing him on the sideline when he's out, he keeps on looking at his thumb, flexing it. You can tell he's in pain. Something's not right there.
This is a kid who's played with a dislocated shoulder before. He had a knee injury last year. He kept playing for Texas Tech as well. Mahomes on 3rd down for Tony Brown, and he couldn't hang on. Would have been a first down. Anthony Tejada knocked it away.
Brown running the slant to try to convert, and Tejada made a great break on the ball and broke the basket up. It isn't just getting to the receiver, but it's also breaking the receiving basket up that the receiver is forming. Great job by Tejada on that play. And when Clark was talking about Mahomes' left thumb, he's a right-handed thrower, obviously, but that's what helps when you're in the shotgun. That thumb would matter if you had to take a snap under the center, but everything's in shotgun nowadays.
Fun time for Barden and Texas Tech. This drives Desmond White back. The sprightly returner chopped down short of the 35. They do blow it dead, though he tried to get up and run as we check into the studio. And Chris. Stauffer, Paul Carcaterra here in Fort Worth, and our entire crew, thanks for joining us this lovely afternoon as TCU took the early lead. We are now tied at 10 with under 3 minutes to go first half for Kenny Hill, the transfer quarterback from Texas A&M, who Cliff Kingsbury recruited to Texas A&M, has a relationship with him after a gain of 3 there. A whistle before the next play at 2nd and 7.
The TCU with all 3 timeouts left, you would assume after this play, or maybe if they convert right here, they will put the pedal to the metal a little bit and go just a bit faster.
Hill to throw on 2nd down. Pocket thins. Hill on the run, and he's met at the sideline after a short gain again by Malik Jenkins, who came in with 38 tackles, tied for 2nd on the team, and he has been a very busy man. Injured player down on the sideline.
I think it's a Texas Tech player in the middle of the TCU sideline. Kenny Hill showing his feet on that play. Very well covered on the back end by Texas Tech, and Kenny Hill makes a good decision by not putting the ball in harm's way and then getting what he can.
It's Chris Williams, the defensive end, who's down. He was out last week due to injury, back today.
And chasing Kenny Hill clear to the sideline. And number 6 is Chris Williams, and he looked like he took the worst of that particular play.
He's the reserve defensive end. Gary Moore, the starter, did not make the trip, so that spot would be down to its 3rd player if Williams were to be out for any length of time. Taco Bell is a proud partner of the College Football Playoff. Be on the lookout for Taco Bell student sections and passionate fans at games all season long. They can dance a little bit here in Fort Worth.
What do you call that? That's one of those line dances, I think.
One of those line dances, I would agree.
You know, they memorize it together, right? It kind of dance in the line kind of thing.
It's actually one of the most.
They typically have cowboy boots on.
It's a very self-explanatory dance, the line dance.
Yeah, they're in a line.
And they dance.
Yeah, that's what that was right there.
Williams coming off the field under his own power. Good news for Texas Tech and the senior out of Bryan Adams High School in Dallas. What do you call here if you're TCU? 3rd and 6.
I think you have to get something out in space. I think Turp is out there somewhere in one of the slots. I believe the slot down to the bottom of the field. So it's a matter of being efficient on 3rd down. You have to be that way against Texas Tech. That's all about a volume of plays. They aren't really counting on being that efficient, to be honest with you, although they're tremendous on 3rd down as well.
Hill to throw, nearly intercepted. My goodness, that could have gone for 6. Paul Banks III, the senior out of Houston, had it go right through his arms.
John Diarse was the receiver down there, and that absolutely should have gone the other way. Paul Banks was standing right there, and a little miscommunication between Diarse number 9 and the quarterback. The defensive back, Paul Banks, ran a better route than Diarse did.
John Diarse, the transfer from LSU, whose role dwindled as the seasons went on in Baton Rouge, and a late fair catch, but a legal one for Batson, waving a couple of times. And Texas Tech will be on the ball with 2:04 to go in the first half. What a game tonight. Undefeated number 3 Clemson, number 12 Florida State, at Doak Campbell Stadium this evening, 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific, 7 Central on ABC. Also streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN. A couple of near misses for Clemson this year. What do you think? They survived this one?
I think Clemson does survive this one.
Really?
I think Florida State is healthier on the defensive side and playing better on that side of the ball, but it's time for Deshaun Watson and company to step up and look like a playoff team.
Kiki QT on the wide receiver screen, which doubles as the Texas Tech run game. They throw on 71% of downs, the most in the FBS.
And you said it. The screen game out wide is the run game for Texas Tech. That's why Gary Patterson told us that they not only have to play the run well, the run after the catch is included in playing the run well.
Mahomes on the fake, trying to get free, and he throws it out of bounds. Denzel Johnson was tailing him toward the sideline, and it's 3rd down. Texas Tech, 59% on 3rd down. The record is Georgia Tech 2 years ago, 57.9%. They could demolish that.
And their average yards to gain on 3rd down is over 8 coming into this game. That's the unbelievable number. It's one thing if you're consistently running the ball, a triple option team, and you're in 3rd and makeable. They rarely are, and they're still converting at almost 6 out of 10.
That's 122nd in the country. 3rd down and 8+ coming in on average. Mahomes scanning. Mahomes launches. Mahomes is incomplete at the 35-yard line. Jonathan Giles had a step but could not get to the ball, and TCU, after a 3-and-out, forces one.
And we've said it many times. That's where Mahomes is so dangerous and gets so many of the big plays. His receivers down the field, typically vertically, are keeping an eye on the quarterback. A lot of times the defensive backs can't do that. Receiver makes a much better play typically on the ball in the air, and usually Patrick Mahomes finds those guys down the field.
This kick goes out of bounds. After 3 straight 3-and-outs, we remind you that celebrating its 12th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. To date, Allstate has contributed millions in scholarship funds. All right, 1:17 to go, first half. What does this drive need to look like for TCU?
I was going to ask you the same thing. I think with 3 timeouts left, you have to get after it. I think TCU obviously is going to need more points. They had some missed opportunities They had 1st and goal from the 4 and got 3 points. They had the ball in plus territory after a turnover and missed a field goal. They have to make hay while they have an opportunity. 3 timeouts, do something right here.
These teams average 86 points a game. It's 10-10 late in the first half, and Kenny Hill is sandwiched down by the returning Chris Williams after a gain of 3. Clock moving.
A lot of times, 2-minute offense starts with one play, you make a successful play, and then you get in your rhythm. But with 3 timeouts, you have to try to get some points.
Where will the gash play happen? This one goes to the sideline for Walsh, and he couldn't get his hands under it. It's incomplete for Daniel Walsh, and 3rd down suddenly.
Both of these defenses, Texas Tech in this particular case, are doing a good job of taking the downfield throws away and forcing Kenny Hill and his receivers to be efficient. And at times, important times, they simply haven't been able to do that.
Turpin, the big play man, is in the middle of the trips formation at the bottom. Hill running the other way where he only has 1 target, and it's incomplete. He wanted Ty Slanina, and 2 volcanic offenses have gone dormant late in this first half.
Braden Fehoko did a nice job from his defensive tackle position, looping outside and putting pressure on Kenny Hill as Kenny Hill got outside the pocket. Both of these cornerbacks here today can put up some incredible numbers, but both of them typically are better passers on the move and maybe more comfortable than they are in the pocket, and that's what we've seen this first half.
Texas Tech only 164 total yards after Patrick Mahomes put up 819 last week. Cameron Batson on the return to the 35. 35 seconds to go first half. Big Saturday rolls on 7 Eastern. It's a Big Ten triple header ending with Nebraska and Wisconsin. Number 7 and number 11. It shakes when there's a big crowd. Camp Randall Stadium. It's on ESPN. Streaming live on the ESPN app as well, and watch ESPN.
And Paul Christ and Mike Riley are best buddies. Their families vacation together in Texas in the offseason. Kind of have a brainstorming vacation. That one will be a good one.
Raucous crowd tonight as they will keep it on the ground on this first down carry for DeLeon Ward to just short of the 45-yard line, and the clock moving, so it looks as though Traven Howard and the TCU defense will allow only 10 points in this first half, although Texas Tech decides to run it for a first down. Timeout call.
Well, remember,
30-second timeout.
Mahomes has a cannon of an arm. So you're already in the territory where he can get the ball all the way down the field into the end zone.
Although recently he struggled, just 3 for his last 9.
And I think that's better defense than it is Pat Mahomes struggling, and we've talked about it. We showed the highlights of TCU working overtime to keep him in the pocket. They haven't always been successful, but they've made him uncomfortable enough, because when Mahomes is on the loose and extends the play an extra 2, 3, 4 seconds, that's when this offense has put up huge numbers. That was typical of the Oklahoma game last week. He was on the run a lot and making huge plays down the field.
This is the nation's total offense leader and passing leader over Davis Webb of Cal coming in to this game. Mahomes flips it out of the backfield, DeLeon Ward, and the clock ticks down to 5 seconds. Texas Tech lines up, wants to spike it, and let's see.
Well, the clock was moving there, so it isn't the 3-second rule. If there's any time left and they get the ball spiked, they can stop the clock. But the clock here in the stadium has gone to 0-0.
This being the home of the Horned Frogs, you would imagine that it would hit 0-0. We saw a flashback to East Lansing days of yore on game day earlier today with a very fortunate 1 second.
No doubt. TCU wants this half to be over, and Cliff Kingsbury and company want a play to throw the ball in the end zone.
I'll tell you what, Big 12 Hail Marys this year
why not?
have not gone silent.
Please reset the game clock to 1 second, please. 1 second.
So 1 second is the answer, and it looks like the right call.
Yeah, and Mahomes goes underneath the center, which he should do, obviously, and there's 1 second and the ball has struck the ground. That's a great look at it. And now Mahomes is going to run around. He's going to work typically to his trip side, which is to the top side of the screen, to the right side, and he's going to try to throw this ball high and have it coming down into the end zone.
One final play for Texas Tech. Mahomes steps into it. He's got it into the end zone, and this ball is knocked around and incomplete. Dylan Cantrell was the target, and that 1 second does nothing for Texas Tech. Halftime score, we're tied at 10. The Red Raiders and the Horned Frogs, Chris Hassel, Jonathan Vilma, Butch Davis are in studio. They've got the Dave & Buster's halftime report. The defenses have won the day in Fort Worth. A game that's bounced back and forth is a 10-10 tie at the break from Amon Carter Stadium. Thanks for joining us once again, Jason Benetti, Kelly Stauffer. We told you off the top these teams average 86 points per game, and it's been a discombobulated offensive first half.
That is a good word. I think you're exactly right. I think shoddy offense to some extent, but I think really good defensive plans, forcing both offenses to be efficient, and they weren't able to do it consistently in that first half.
We'll re-examine the first half coming up, but first downstairs, Paul Carcaterra.
Patrick has to calm down. He's trying to do too much. That's what Cliff Kingsbury just told me moments ago. He said TCU's throwing so many different looks at him defensively, it's hard for them to get in the sync. They have to figure something out. He is pleased about his defense, though. Last week was a disaster against Oklahoma. They couldn't tackle in space. They couldn't do really anything correctly. But this week, much more improvement on that side of the ball. He said they're disciplined with their eyes, and they're making the tackles in space, and that is critical against any offense in this conference.
Hey, Kark, you know what it resembles is West Virginia's game plan actually against both of these offenses. Held 1 to 10 and 1 to 17, and that's what Gary Patterson is doing defensively. 3-man box a lot of times, 2 linebackers or 3-man defensive line, 2 linebackers, and dropping a bunch of clutter and forcing Mahomes to be patient.
TCU gets it out of halftime, and that drive will start from the 25 as we take a look at our Pacific Life game summary 30 minutes in. Turnovers were a problem for the Red Raiders early.
Yeah, Pat Mahomes throws the ball up in the air, which he's prone to do, and typically good things happen, but that was a great interception right there for TCU early. Puts the ball on the ground right there, and if you put the ball on the ground twice, or turn it over twice, they just simply have a lot less points, but TCU hasn't been efficient either. Miscommunication, quarterback to receiver, not efficient running the football, and I think this second half TCU needs to make a concerted effort to run the ball and do it more effectively.
Against a very Civ-like Texas Tech defense historically this year. This is a strong run from Travaris Johnson, who's in for Kyle Hicks, who only carried the ball 3 times in that first half. And for the defensive coordinator, David Gibbs for Texas Tech, who we talked to earlier this week, we said, who stood out, who graded out well for you in that game last week against Oklahoma? He said nobody.
Nobody. Exactly right. And I think TCU has to run the ball for 2 reasons. I think Texas Tech isn't very good up front at stopping the run, but the more you possess the ball against Texas Tech, the less touches Patrick Mahomes and company get. That's a great defensive game plan against Mahomes, is your own offense possessing it and particularly running the football successfully.
Hill pulls it back and goes with a line drive down to the 42-yard line to Taj Williams, who had a couple drops in that first half.
Yeah, I think there were 3 total drops by wide receivers in that first half, and that's part of the inefficiency that I talked about. those RPOs, run-pass options. Run's not there, you pull it, and you have to have a gimme outside. That's the decision the quarterback makes.
Taj Williams, who had a 210-yard day against Oklahoma this year, and Texas Tech's line gets stout. Braden Fehoko was in on the play, along with Andre Pipkins, and TCU has a decision to make.
I think they have to punt this ball away. They punted it 4th and 3 in plus territory in that first half when I thought they should have gone for it. This, I think, is a misread by Kenny Hill. I think this is a keep read by the quarterback, and you have to take it around the edge. When that defensive end, when his shoulders get perpendicular to the line of scrimmage, you have to take the ball around him.
And this is going to go for a fake. And a first down. Nunez on the fake punt. Just short of the plus 40-yard line. It's a gain of 18. Gutsy call from Gary Patterson.
I think this was a call more by Nunez. I think this is a green light play, Jason, is you're going to rugby kick to the right, and if there's green grass, and if you're 100% sure you can convert, go ahead and do that. The shield is moving that way anyway. It's hard to tell whether that was called or not, but regardless, it was very well executed.
Tell you what, the fake punt is in vogue right now in college football. Kenny Hill into the flat, too high for Johnson. That ball had some helium on it, and it's second down.
Great job by Kenny Hill going through his progression. He eventually gets to Johnson clear on the opposite side of the field, but then he just doesn't connect his feet and his eyes together, and the ball was airmailed.
Son of the former Major League pitcher Ken Hill, Cy Young runner-up in 1994. Kenny has Jerrison Stewart in motion, and he throws that way for Stewart, who turns around to get it and gets tripped up. Keyshawn Allen, the safety, for no gain. It's third down.
With these spread teams, that's an extension of the run game. We say that all the time, but that means you have to execute it 95% of the time extremely well, and that wasn't well blocked by the two perimeter receivers that time.
Third and 10 for TCU. Hill under pressure, hit as he throws, and this is incomplete. There's some dangerous contact downfield there. It is intended for Turpin, and fourth down coming up. What do you do now?
Turpin was uncovered in the slot. Three receivers to the right, he was completely uncovered. I know Kenny Hill was under duress, but your playmaker in Turpin is completely uncovered. Don't even let him run a route. Give him some eye contact. Stand up and throw the ball to him immediately. Let him get his shoulders turned and get up on his defensive back.
Nunez punts this one, and it is down inside the 5-yard line. Sid Calvin got down there to pluck it.
Gary Patterson has shown us that he wants to play field position, and really it plays into the game plan. Good special teams, get it inside the 2-yard line and force Mahomes and this Texas Tech air raid offense to be efficient. They weren't efficient in the first half, so force them to drive along field, don't give up the big plays, and force Patrick Mahomes to prove it again here in the second half.
Mahomes, who threw for 139 and ran for just 9. He's one of the leaders in the nation in rushing touchdowns. He has 9 to top the Big 12 in rushing touchdowns, and he will keep it on the ground in a play that's strung out for DeLeon Ward. Chris Bradley belted him, and it's second down and long for Texas Tech.
This was a pretty healthy spot. I didn't think Ward hardly got out of the end zone right here. He stumbles and gets forward. I thought it was more like the 1-yard line, and they spotted it clear out to the 2.
Second down 10 for Mahomes. Trips once again at the bottom of the formation, and Mahomes runs away from it where he takes a big hit from Traven Howard again, and he's thrown all the way back toward the pylon. Third down. Last week, the first half was gargantuan for Mahomes. This week, not so much.
Not a whole lot of passing yards, 139. In West Virginia was the last time he had less than 140. That was a great first half by TCU, but it's going to take another great second half in order for them to win this game.
Defense has struggled to get off the field some on third down, and that is a beautiful effort by Dylan Cantrell at the sideline.
Unbelievable.
Wow.
The back shoulder throw. Cantrell is matched up on Julius Lewis.
The receiver was forced out of bounds, came back in bounds, reestablished himself, the completed pass.
So the call is that Cantrell was forced out of bounds, came back in to establish himself. That is a legal play, and it's a gain of 19.
The high level of difficulty is hard to explain on that, but once again, converting on third and long.
Best team on third down in the country. This is DeLeon Ward finding a crease, and he's tripped up at the 31.5. Traven Howard, Denzel Johnson collaborated. Nice run, gain of 8. Quick set. Mahomes the throw. Cameron Batson, and he's stacked up very quickly. That's the football equivalent of a quick pitch from the younger Mahomes.
And third and really makeable is not really in Texas Tech's wheelhouse. 3rd and 8 plus is when they're extremely good.
They're 7 of 12 today. On third down, Ward churning the feed, and he has a first down over the 35. Traven Howard again with the tackle. First down, Texas Tech running the football, Kel.
Texas Tech hasn't really desired to run it much, but you're right. They're more effective because Gary Patterson has given them really, really inviting run boxes.
Mahomes throws it out to the 40. And DeLeon Ward once again dragging a tackler just short of the line to gain. Texas Tech has 651 passing touchdowns dating back to 2000. Hawaii is second with 536.
That sounds like a lot.
That's not close. They've got about 115 more than Hawaii. As this is a nifty run once again into TCU territory for Ward. First down, Texas Tech willing to run the football.
And I think that's a halftime adjustment. Gary Patterson made it really inviting for Texas Tech to run the ball in the first half, and they didn't run it really much at all, but they weren't effective at it. I think they decided with a 5-man box is what you see right here. We have to take advantage, especially in the 2 running back look that they have right now in personnel-wise.
Reed, the fullback, is in. Lead blocking for DeLeon Ward. Reed got a good face full of the safety, Denzel Johnson, opening a hole for Ward and a gain of 6. Josh Caraway is coming off the field injured.
You know, typically the way it works, the air raid offense was based on a box count. If we have favorable numbers inside, we can run it. If we don't, we pass it. The screen game becomes part of the run game for that reason, but once again, a 5-man box.
It's a lengthy drive for Texas Tech.
This would say run once again. You can block 5 with the offensive lineman, a 6th guy with the extra running back.
And it is Justin Stockton showing some escapability and leaning forward right toward that 38-yard line. Ridwan Isahaku, the sophomore out of the state of Georgia, made the tackle, and a drive that started at the 2-yard line is methodically getting into TCU territory. It is a first down. This is the 11th play of the drive coming up for Texas Tech.
And now you wonder when Gary Patterson is going to add guys to that box because of Texas Tech's desire to run it here in the second half.
Stockton again. Reed, the fullback, could not clear the way this time. He's driven back by Galii and Tejada as well at second down.
And keep in mind that Gary Patterson defensively for TCU is typically a 4-down line guy. 4 defensive linemen, 2 linebackers, and 5 defensive backs. His base defense is a 4-2-5. Right now, they only have 3 defensive linemen in, just like they did in the first half. 5 guys in the box. Once again, says run if you're doing a box count.
8 runs, 3 passes on the drive so far for Texas Tech, a team that throws it more than anybody in the FBS. Mahomes, a pump fake. Mahomes, a shift right around the 33, and down he goes in a heap. 3rd down, Kark.
TCU's best defensive pass rusher, Josh Caraway, he's out right now. Trainers evaluating his right ankle. This is a big loss for TCU. Leads the team in sacks, 16.5 on his career. Also the emotional leader of this defense. Challenged them. Didn't like the effort against West Virginia. Wants to see if his team can answer the bell here today.
So on 3rd down, the 2nd leading sacker in the country active is out. Mahomes given some time. Mahomes being chased. He's got open field. Mahomes wanted to throw, and Mahomes is down. Traven Howard ran all the way around the field to finally topple him.
Aaron Curry was there as well from his defensive tackle position. Incredibly hard to defend when Mahomes gets on the run like this. He extends the play literally by about 4 seconds. You have to glue to your routes on the back end in coverage if you're TCU and hope that you have someone that can catch up with Mahomes.
So off the 3rd sack of the game of Patrick Mahomes, 20 now on the year of him. Texas Tech, maybe he'll take the delay of game and give some extra room to the punt team.
I think TCU will turn right around and oblige him by declining the penalty. I don't know that any of it makes a whole lot of difference, quite frankly.
Delay of game. Offense. 5-yard penalty is declined. 4th down.
And there it is. You know, at some point, coaches are going to stop lining up for that delay of game because teams aren't going to take it.
Yeah. Why not?
Unless you really want the clock to run, which Texas Tech doesn't seem like that's in the wheelhouse.
No.
For the boys from Lubbock.
That's not exactly their MO.
Barden to punt. That is a high tumbling kick. And it hits the pylon. A touchback for Barden that should be worth 100 points.
Well, if you were golfing and that was a flag, that was a great shot, but the pylon is part of the end zone, so that's a touchback.
Barden wins closest to the pin. 10-10 tie. Day's Kohler Power Performance. Tie game, TCU and Texas Tech, and the defenses have held the line so far unexpectedly in this game.
No kidding. I think both defensive game plans have centered around one theme: force the opposing offense to be efficient. Don't give up big plays, the splash plays, let alone the gargantuan touchdowns, and so far so good for both defenses.
The bigger mountain to climb was for the defense of TCU against the statistics of Texas Tech, but the defense for the Red Raiders had been beleaguered and then some coming in. So the real impressive performance is from the guys in white playing defense.
Without a doubt. They haven't had a pulse. They've been trying to survive the last several weeks.
To the outside it goes, and a 1st down on the completion to John Diar's. The LSU transfer, 1st down just short of the 40-yard line.
And TCU offensively certainly needs to continue to probe with that run game. They have Cole Hunt in the tight end that adds a hat to that run game. You would think this would be a run right here.
His brother, the former All-Big 12 center Joey, drafted by the Seahawks last year. Kyle Hicks doesn't have that escapability today. He went out early with an injury, has returned, but only played sparingly at 2nd down.
We've talked a lot about Gary Patterson defensively for TCU, giving favorable run looks for Texas Tech, daring them to run the ball, but Texas Tech's doing some of the same stuff, and TCU's typically more efficient running it. Not so here today. this is not one of those favorable run looks.
And not a lot back there safety-wise, although Texas Tech drops back in coverage as Hill goes over the middle right around midfield for a gain of 11 and a first down to Daniel Walsh. Cart.
Credit defensive coordinator for Texas Tech, David Gibbs. He told us this week his defense was in survivor mode, and they're not getting the turnovers they're accustomed to. Since 2012, when he spent a couple years at Houston and then the last couple at Texas Tech, his defense is averaging 2.24 turnovers per game. That's the most in college football since 2012. But they haven't been stripping the ball, gents, this year because they're just worried about tackling.
Yeah, dating back to 2009, they haven't had a defensive coordinator in Lubbock for back-to-back years. So if you look at Gibbs just a couple years deep into his tenure, he's trying to really rebuild.
Yeah, he's trying to flip the roster to guys that can play his scheme. And at Houston, like Clark said, he was known for two things: takeaways and red zone defense. And that's exactly what Kingsbury wants here for Texas Tech, but he needs the horses to get it done.
Fake the jet sweep action. Green burying a couple of defenders for a first down. Derek Green, the Michigan transfer, with some hard running. And here's the list of the guys that Texas Tech has seen in a rather hot seat that David Gibbs is occupying right now.
Yeah, not a lot of continuity there, to say the least. And so every time you change your name on that list, young men 18 to 22 have to learn something completely different. And that isn't the way to be productive.
Kenny Hill to throw to the outside, incomplete. And one of those names is the current defensive coordinator for TCU. Chad Glasgow is not the play caller, but he's on Gary Patterson's staff.
And so what Cart said about surviving and not getting those takeaways, when you're surviving in terms of just trying to line up right and make a tackle, you're not worried about attacking the football. And that's what Texas Tech has resembled defensively this year.
Now Johnson talking to Hill in the backfield. Kenny Hill will throw. He wants the long ball. Single coverage toward the end zone. So hand fighting. And this is caught in the end zone and intercepted. Picked off by Texas Tech. Douglas Coleman out of Zachary, Louisiana, the freshman, yanks it down. So Texas Tech started with an offensive turnover and now has a big takeaway in the second half. Tie game.
ESPN College Football, brought to you by Allstate, proud supporters of college football. It's good to be in good hands.
Founders Club Suites at Amon Carter Stadium consist of 6 total suites, each one individually sold for just $15 million and catered by our guy, the chef, John Bonnell.
John Bonnell has it going on. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I mean, the pregame spread here, quail, Black Forest cake, and they're going to look at that last play, that interception in the end zone by Coleman for Texas Tech.
Yeah, Turpin is the receiver. It's another one of those Terp touches, and does Coleman actually come down with it? This ball was woefully underthrown and thrown with way too much air.
Question is, does he have possession all the way through the catch?
You know what happens here is I think Turpin does a tremendous job of becoming the defensive back and trying to strip that ball. Indisputable
Ruling of an
video
interception
evidence.
and a touchback is under further review.
Okay, so that we know. Here's the other part of this. Within the 5-yard line, if your momentum takes you into the end zone, that's officially a touchback. So if you're wondering why, if he caught the ball at the 1 or the 2 and then he goes into the end zone, as long as you're within the 5-yard line, that whole range, and your momentum starts toward the end zone, that is a touchback.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Watch Turpin grab for the ball right there. He becomes a defensive back on the underthrow, and the question is whether that ball got to the ground or not. It's held like a loaf of bread at the end, which typically isn't a great sign.
Remember, the ball can touch the ground. If the receiver or defensive back is in control of the ball, that still can be an interception. So we're going to step aside while they look at it. We'll have a verdict coming back on a possible interception for the Red Raiders. Will stand, no indisputable video evidence, and here's our cleanest look at it.
Yeah, and I think it was well called because we just simply couldn't definitively see the right arm, which is what possesses the ball when he comes up. He's holding it like a loaf of bread, and Turpin was trying to get it out of there, but in the end, the way it was called on the field, I think necessarily so stands.
So Texas Tech with the ball from the 20-yard line. DeLeon Ward has been the bell cow today. A drive that included 10 runs last time starts for Texas Tech on this most recent drive with a run as well.
It's the Navy triple option breaking out from a shotgun formation. What is going on here?
I don't know about that. I don't know anybody's going to confuse Annapolis and Lubbock, at least playbook-wise right now. As that one is incomplete. It's officially called an incomplete pass. Very close, and in the ensuing action, we'll see if there's any official clear recovery just in case they want to review it.
Yeah, and TCU recovered it immediately after the apparent fumble, Sammy Douglas. This is Texas Tech's screen game, but this is their run game. And I think that was a forward pass, about 1.5 yards forward, rightly called on the field.
Kiki QT was the intended target. And so now, after a gain of 1 on the ground and an incomplete screen pass, it's 3rd down and 9 for Mahomes in the offense. He thought about taking off, now gets it to the sideline, well short to Ward. Bumped out of bounds by Traven Howard, the leading TCU tackler, and likely punt time for Texas Tech.
And a great series after a difficult turnover by TCU offensively. Gary Patterson's defense comes out and plays 3 really textbook plays.
A Texas Tech team that last week put up 854 yards of total offense has been held to 250 today by the Horned Frogs. Barden drops it, and Barden gets drilled inside the 15-yard line. Sammy Douglas got in there and lit him up. A huge turn of events for TCU.
Kyle Heffron is the snapper, and quite frankly, the snap couldn't have been any better. It hits Barton right on the hip pocket, which is where it should be. And so many times, the little things. If you have an opportunity to touch the football, it's about eyes on the football first, whether you're the quarterback, the running back, the receiver, or in this case, a punter.
Foster Sawyer is the quarterback for TCU. Kenny Hill is out, so the sophomore out of Fort Worth is in to play quarterback, and he will throw on his first touch to the sideline. He's got Daniel Walsh just short of the 5-yard line. Sawyer 4 for 6 for the year with his 7th pass as a completion.
I would assume this was predetermined before TCU knew they were going to inherit the ball deep in the red zone, but they go with the plan, and they feel like Sawyer is ready for this opportunity.
In for Kenny Hill.
Gary Patterson said after last week he wishes he would have played Sawyer to the end of the last game.
Johnson picking his way across the 5. It's 1st and goal, TCU. Winding down to the end of the 3rd quarter.
You know, Jason, TCU has to find a way to finish in the red zone. Kyle Hicks was hurt early in this game. We saw him limp off, and he was their drive finisher. And it isn't easy to close out drives without that guy.
That will be the end of the 3rd quarter. Foster Sawyer and his 28 career passing attempts and 1 start in Norman last year is the man to navigate the offense after the turnover. TCU driving when we come back.
home of the New Year's Six and the college football playoff.
First rankings coming out Tuesday. We officially have a thriller here in Fort Worth. Tied at 10, 15 on the clock. TCU driving. First and goal from the Texas Tech 4. Foster Sawyer, the reserve quarterback, is in. And Johnson on the run, trying to reach for the goal line. He's down at the 1. Taylor Nunez with the tackle. Second and goal. Johnson again. To the goal line. Touchdown! Travaris Johnson scores.
Getting points off that botched punt obviously was important, but the interesting thing is who was at quarterback during that play? Foster Sawyer comes in and closes it out.
Short field. Hatfield, the extra point is good, and the special teams play leads to the touchdown.
Michael Barton just drops this one, takes his eyes off the ball just a little bit, and TCU, most importantly, gets points off of that turnover.
Tonight, after a full day of college football, Sports Center at night, Nicole Briscoe, John Anderson, updates from Game 4 of the World Series, all the college football, NBA, NHL highlights, NFL news, everything else. Sports Center at night after Nebraska, Wisconsin on ESPN, also streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. TCU off the short field. Foster Sawyer gets him in the end zone, in for Kenny Hill on what looked to be a decision based somewhat on performance at quarterback for TCU. This kick heads into the end zone, and Texas Tech will have it from the 25.
Yeah, Jason, I think you're right about that. And
our Pacific Life game summary comes now. It's been a defensive game rather unexpectedly today.
Yeah, we would expect the summary to have more about what the offense has done well, but two defensive game plans have worked. Two quarterbacks that have been fairly inefficient, turning the ball over, and Kenny Hill at this point in time has been supplanted by Foster Sawyer on that last drive. I think you're right. The last 5 drives for TCU before that touchdown, 4 punts and an INT.
DeLeon Ward has not had a bad day here. The freshman running back gets 8. Nico Small tripped him up, and Texas Tech has been very willing to run the ball here in the second half. Once again on the ground, right around the 35-yard line. First down for Ward. Chris. We've got a beauty here with just over 14 minutes to go, Chris. Texas Tech trying to put together another drive. TCU has taken away that short passing game for the most part here in the second half. One of the top offenses in the country. Mahomes forced to scan again. Mahomes is hit and dropped. Matt Boson, the junior, got him.
Well, Galliai on one defensive end position and Matt Boson the other did a great job of holding the edge, keeping the high edge as they go up the field. Don't overrun the quarterback and don't let him get outside of you, and Pat Mahomes forcing back up inside. Very successfully done right there by TCU defensively.
38 straight games with a sack now for TCU, thanks to a couple in the first half. And this is third and long coming up. Cart.
Well, head coach Gary Patterson runs this TCU defense, and before they went on the field, he kept on echoing the call, show, show, show. When I spoke to Cliff Kingsbury at half, he said they're disguising, they're showing a lot of different looks, and they're going to continue to do so. Kelly, I think that's one of the reasons why Texas Tech continues to run the ball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. They're showing one thing and then sometimes getting out of it late, only rushing three like they are right here, but keeping Mahomes in the pocket.
Mahomes goes down. Bosa got the shoestrings and ripped him to the turf.
This game plan is straight out of West Virginia a week ago. I mean, no doubt about that. Tony Gibson for West Virginia came up with this. Show a three-man front, a five-man box. Sometimes you have all of your guys within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage, but are we coming or are we not? And more times than not, Clark, they're actually dropping 8 into coverage as TCU and forcing Mahomes to find an open receiver.
Barton handles this one. Desmond White on the run, reversing field, and down goes White. A pretty good field position for TCU, short of the 35. 16 seasons for the defensive mastermind, Gary Patterson. You get a statue for building a program like this. His defense has taken charge. Matt Bosa with a sack to stop the drive. And we take a look at today's Performance Spotlight, brought to you by Dickies.
And what a performance it's been by TCU defensively, but in particular, holding Mahomes in the pocket. That's Bosa right there. Hold it a high edge, force Mahomes back inside, give a favorable run box, and still defend the run well. And once again, Mahomes wants to get out.
Hasn't been able to.
Yeah, just doesn't allow him to do it. That has been a great defensive plan, executed almost to perfection up to this point in time.
Still no sign of Kenny Hill. Foster Sawyer manning his second drive in a row for TCU, and he will throw on the first play of this drive, and incomplete. Second down coming up. Chris. Well, it may happen today. You never know. Urban Meyer is not going to be a happy camper. Sawyer, that's incomplete. He missed Taj Williams, an open man. Third down.
Those are the things that got Kenny Hill pulled out of the game. It's a run-pass option. You have a run inside and a pass outside, and you stress the overhang defender. A guy that is in the run box, if so, you throw it out just like Sawyer did right there, but he bounces one on a short hopper.
So now you're at a passing down again. Olanolua is the tailback. He's been the third down back with Hicks injured. And Texas Tech is at least feigning a blitz. Here they come. Sawyer off his back foot to the sideline. First down, Taj Williams in front of Polite Gray. It's a gain of 11.
And they did calm Texas Tech to defensively. Pressure inside, and Sawyer got it out on time outside.
Here is Olanolua. And second down coming up. Foster Sawyer, the sophomore from All Saints Episcopal, raised in Fort Worth, in for Kenny Hill, the Texas A&M transfer.
Fairly modest numbers thus far, but Foster Sawyer just simply needs to execute the offense. There are plays out there to be made, but you have to use really good footwork when you throw those RPOs. Get your feet right, let your eyes take you to the throw, but those have to be about 100%. Having a little trouble spotting the football as we speak.
There's a flag on the play. It's an illegal substitution against Texas Tech. Substitution was a point of contention in that TCU West Virginia game last week. as Anderson gets this carry. Skylar Howard, the West Virginia quarterback, came up to the line. He was actually pulled off the line by one of the officials to allow the TCU defense to substitute last week.
Yeah, that's how much offenses want to go fast, and the official almost bodily removed Howard out of the picture, because that's right. When the offense substitutes, they also have to give the defense time to substitute as well.
If the ball is snapped before it's ready for play, that's a penalty against the offense, though. So there is a rule in place. Taj Williams on the slant to the 35 from Sawyer, and that was right on the button. First down.
Decisive. Nobody inside of Taj Williams, and this is a seed right on the 2. Bam, right there. Turn your head or get it in the ear hole.
13th in the nation in yards per catch. Taj Williams averaging 20, gets 17 there. Olanolua to the second level inside the 30. And it's a gain of 6, 2nd and 4. Downstairs, Carton.
Well, Kelly, Foster Sawyer certainly looks the part. 6'5", 230. Remember, Gary Patterson told us yesterday he wants quarterbacks to think of the NFL when he's recruiting them. Guys like Andy Dalton, and in this day and age with this spread, TCU is a place where you can develop a QB who wants a bright future at the next level.
Yeah, and he wants his offensive coordinators teaching these guys to read defenses.
Olanolua, a jagged cut inside the 20-yard line. He keeps the legs moving, and the freshman running back has a first down.
Hey, Kark, you're right. Foster Sawyer at 6'5", 230, and what Gary Patterson said when he brought the air raid offense here is that I still want my quarterbacks taught how to read defenses, find spinning safeties, throw the ball on time, all of those things, leverage. It's going to attract not only quarterbacks to come here and play, but also receivers that want to play with them.
Gary Patterson told us they want to have about 14 scholarship wide receivers. Talking to him and Doug Meacham, the co-offensive coordinator, they want about 14 guys that they could play at that wide receiver spot.
You need a bunch of them. You have typically 5 of them on the field together, and the attrition over the course of a season, we've already seen that Turpin has been out at times, beat up, so they certainly need a gaggle of them.
Sawyer and Hill have hit 10 separate receivers today for TCU. Olanolua again, and he's just short of the 15-yard line. Might have gotten there. Chris Williams knocked him down, and TCU willing to knock down this clock and make it a 2-possession game with a field goal if need be.
Yeah, and what you're not seeing right now is the quarterback run game out of TCU, and that's certainly part of their plan in that run game. You see it more out of Kenny Hill than we've seen out of Foster Sawyer since he entered the game. This is an empty set with 5 wides, and now the running back Olanolua comes back into the backfield.
A former high school linebacker, Olanolua, and now Sawyer says, look, we're going to wait a while and call timeout. Play clock down to 2 and 1, and there is the timeout. 8:23 to go. TCU pining for win number 5 this year, leading and driving. This on ESPN, 10 a.m. Eastern, NFL Insiders Sunday edition. Then at 11, Sunday NFL Countdown with Boomer and the crew right up to kickoff. Both shows also streaming live on the ESPN app and Watch ESPN. Heard from a couple NFLers, Josh Dotson, Aaron Green earlier. Downstairs with Clark. They hooked up for the winning touchdown against Texas Tech last year in Lubbock in a wild game, 55-52. Much lower scoring today. Texas Tech shut out in 2 quarters. Just 1 empty quarter coming into this game. 3rd down, Foster Sawyer, the reserve quarterback, in for TCU. Single coverage, long ball, end zone, incomplete for John Diarse, and field goal time for the Horned Frogs.
Yeah, and a very safe throw. If you're going to throw it into the end zone, that's probably the way to do it. It's red zone thinking as a young quarterback. This ball is slightly overthrown, pretty well covered as well by Paul Banks, but red zone mentality. We have 3 points on the board, and that's all we really need to go by 2 possessions. So do not put the ball into harm's way. That was a very safe way to do it.
Brandon Hatfield is 1 for 2 today. This from 32 yards away. No good.
Wow.
My, oh my, that could have really been a big blow to the Red Raiders. Instead, it's a one-possession game.
And that didn't look good from the beginning. That thing had hookitis on it from the get-go. Wow. You could keep Texas Tech alive in one way, and that, quite frankly, might have been it.
Over the years, we've seen TCU's kicking game just superlative. Jaden Oberkrom, who they lost to graduation last year, is gone. They've been going back and forth between Hatfield and Ryan Graff, and a couple misses today now have TCU with just 17 on the board, and a big spot for the defense against Mahomes and the offense. It's DeLeon Ward keeping his feet and hesitating toward the sideline as we check in with the studio and Chris. Not a whole lot of people are rooting for Baylor outside of Waco this year with everything that's going on there. And a close game in that one, Baylor, Texas. First down, Texas Tech. Mahomes, he's been sacked 4 times. This one, he flings to the sideline, and Gary Patterson.
That was a nice catch. Coach P got his hands up well, formed the triangle.
Is he an inside receiver or an outside receiver?
I think he's an inline receiver. I think you better keep him blocking most of the time. Once in a while, throw him a bone like that one.
Longtime head coach here, 16th season taking over for Dennis Franchione, who departed for Alabama early in the 2000s. Patrick Mahomes on second down. Having to read the defense all day long. Now he uses his legs, and Mahomes is dragged down short of the line to gain. Third and short. Traven Howard got there first. And now Texas Tech, with 7:20 to go, has a big third down.
Well, and we've seen that Texas Tech is much more willing to run the ball against favorable defensive run looks. So you would assume that they will do that right here.
16 carries today for the freshman DeLeon Ward. Third down 2. And they do run it for the first down. DeLeon Ward, and this offense continues to move the ball. Bradley the tackle, gain of 4. Under 7 minutes to go, and Texas Tech has morphed before our eyes, Kelly.
It's hard to imagine, but with the 5-man box consistently by TCU defensively, Cliff Kingsbury has been much more willing to run the ball in this second half than we've seen him all year.
They passed it 88 times last week against Oklahoma in the loss. Today they've passed it 35 times as Aaron Curry dumps Ward after a short gain. Well, the demise of the college football defense has been greatly exaggerated today.
That was part of the therapy for me coming here to TCU, is Gary Patterson was going to come up with something. He better come up with something on this drive right here.
5 times the last 16 years, the top defense in the country has resided in Fort Worth, Texas. Under 6 to play. Texas Tech will run it again, and it's third down as Boson got the hit this time after a gain of 4.
And this is third and about 4, a little bit out of the run wheelhouse for Texas Tech. I would assume that they would put the ball in the air right here. 37 rushes and 36 passes.
Unreal. Felton is in.
Never would have imagined that, Jason, coming into today.
DeMarcus Felton, the tailback. He gets the pitch. Felton trips. Fourth down and about 3 coming up. You got to go for it, right?
Yeah, the speed option out on the edge, and Felton had it if he just keeps his feet. We have an offensive lineman, I believe, down. Justin Murphy, number 73. That's a gimme if the running back Felton can just keep his feet, but you have to throw down the gauntlet right here, right? Your best opportunity, 3rd and 3 or 4th and 3, manageable by any stretch. And offense is typically your best weapon on the year.
So I hate to say this, and it's weird to say this,
but
what's the play call for Texas Tech on 4th and 3? They throw it more than any team in the country, 71% of the time, but they've run it more than they've passed it this afternoon.
I think they throw it.
You do?
I think they throw it right here because I think deep down inside of Cliff Kingsbury, he feels much more comfortable still throwing the ball, especially in crucial situations, than he does running it. Pat Mahomes is your best player. I think you put the ball in the air right here. The question is, does Gary Patterson get after Pat Mahomes, or does he play clutter in that second level and force a tight window?
4th down 3. 1 possession game. A lot of time, play clock at 14. Game clock under 5. Mahomes to throw. Mahomes out of the pocket. And he's got the first down. He got cavalier with the ball, but made it across the 35, first down.
And that's the one player that's difficult to defend regardless of the defense you run. Matt Boson had a chance at him out on the edge and couldn't get him to the ground.
Mahomes pump fake, and he just readies for the hit from Traven Howard. 2nd down and long coming up. With the sack.
Illegal substitution. Defense, 12 players on the field. 5-yard penalty. Go first down.
Illegal substitution, TCU, and Mahomes leading this drive.
Texas Tech's best play on the year has been this guy on the move. Pat Mahomes does such a great job. TCU's been very good today, but the scramble ability by a quarterback when you have everyone glued on the back end in coverage and you can't defend the quarterback, number 5, Pat Mahomes.
Mahomes, who had been wearing a knee brace today, now trips up at the 25-yard line, just short of it. And L.J. Collier credited with the tackle. So after the illegal substitution, that was 1st and 5, and Mahomes is ready to snap the ball. He does, and hands it off. And Ward chopped down by Galliai. He had an alley that time. It's 1st down, Texas Tech.
TCU making substitutions on the defensive line of scrimmage. Playing a little pace right here. Up tempo is Pat Mahomes and company for Texas Tech. And defensive line of scrimmage got a little gas for TCU.
27th best red zone team for touchdowns in the country. Texas Tech needs a touchdown to tie. 3.5 to go. Mahomes flips it out wide inside the 15-yard line. Reggie Davis, who has the only touchdown today for Texas Tech.
Yeah, the run pass option going outside. TCU doing a decent job of defending up inside, and the run pass option takes Mahomes outside.
What's your play call here?
Well, with the run pass option game that Texas Tech likes, you really have the best of both worlds anytime you want it. Run inside. If you don't like what the defense, how they react to the run, you pull it and get it outside in the pass form.
It's in the hands of the total offense leader in the country. Patrick Mahomes shoved back, stonewalled short of the line to gain by Nico Small and Traven Howard. 3rd down. 2:45 to go.
And that was a design quarterback run. There was a puller after the fake to be a personal escort for the quarterback.
Reed and Ward the backs. 3rd down. Timeout, Texas Tech. You might want to have those just in case Cliff Kingsbury burns one. 17-10 TCU down to the wire. Coming up 7 Eastern, Nebraska, Wisconsin, 2 top 11 teams from Camp Randall on ESPN. Streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Boy, do we have a dandy today from Fort Worth. Texas Tech needs a touchdown and a point after, trailing by 7. 3rd down and 1 for the junior Patrick Mahomes. Texas Tech 9 of 18 on 3rd down. The best 3rd down team in the country goes with DeLeon Ward, and the freshman has a 1st down and goal, Texas Tech.
That 3rd down was much different than typically they are on 3rd down. Coming into this year, they needed actually, 8 yards, over 8 yards per 3rd down attempt. But now that they're running the ball, they're in 3rd and manageable much more than they're actually used to being at.
1st and goal. Moving down to 2 minutes left. Mahomes, Ward as a blocker. Mahomes snowed under. Barely any gain. Isahaku the tackle. It's 2nd down and goal. 2 timeouts, Texas Tech.
And I think as far as clock management, that's the key. You have 2 timeouts in your pocket. You basically don't want to leave any time for the opposing offense to do anything with it. So you let it run down a little bit, manage the clock with 2 timeouts.
If you don't have any time, though, and you don't get this touchdown, then you've injured yourself by bleeding the clock down.
Yeah, you're all in right now, Jason. You have to get this in the end zone.
Mahomes to throw over the middle. Touchdown! Dylan Cantrell for Texas Tech. Do you go for 2?
I think Cliff Kingsbury is happy to try to send this into overtime. 1:28 left. TCU, on the other hand, has 2 timeouts. They're playing a youngster now at quarterback and Forrest Sawyer, so it'll be interesting to see what approach they take. But point after touchdown is not automatic anymore in college football.
Clayton Hatfield to tie the ball game out of the hold of Cameron Batson. Hatfield is good. A 6-minute, 44-second drive. Unread Raider-like. The result, though, is very much what they normally get in Lubbock. Tie game. College football playoff implications coming tonight. Number 3, Clemson on the road to Doak Campbell Stadium against Florida State. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, 5 Pacific on ABC. Streaming live on the ESPN app and watch ESPN. Undefeated Clemson trying to remain number 3 in the country and then some later tonight. Here in Fort Worth, we have a brilliant game. 17 all, 128 to go, and TCU will have it off the touchdown from Mahomes to Cantrell. The very dangerous Cavante Turpin back to receive. This is Turpin from inside the 5. Turpin has an alley. Turpin got spun around. Oh boy, that could have gone as we check in with Kark.
Well, for the last 10 minutes, I've been watching Jonathan Song, 46 in purple, the place kicker. He's the only one who's been warming up. Brandon Hatfield missed a couple, so if he goes in, he's going to be ice cold. It's been all Song. And I also saw some dialogue between Foster Sawyer and Kenny Hill Jr. Kenny Hill just went up to him and said, "Let's go." This is the biggest drive of Foster Sawyer's life.
It's coming right now. And Song, by the way, was injured in the preseason. He was scheduled to be the kicker. So you talk about cold. He's coming in off the bench for the season. Sawyer on the handoff. Johnson. And a penalty flag is out as Johnson wound his way across the 40-yard line. It was behind the play. Gain of 12 if it stands.
Illegal block in the back. Offense, number 52. 10-yard penalty. 1st down.
Into the studio, Chris. A lot of close ones in purple as Turpin gets this touch. Cavante Turpin reversing field, gets a block from Sawyer, and Turpin gets the penalty yardage back. Nelson knocked him down to 1:01 to go. 2 timeouts each. Turpin down and now back up. Clock moving from the 32. Sawyer, who'd thrown 6 passes all year before this second half, looking for Williams, and that was a gash play waiting to happen. He missed.
And Sawyer had to go from one side of the field to the other, and then he finds Williams open in the middle of the field. If this ball is on time and on target, Williams runs up the right hash and might still be running. And that's just a matter of getting your feet in conjunction with your eyes.
Johnson, on the same play that came back with a penalty, has a first down across the 40. 2 timeouts, 30 seconds to go. TCU will hustle to the line. When the ball is spotted, the clock will run. There it goes. Sawyer, and a flag comes in. This is where having the new quarterback really can foul up the offense. 10-second runoff possibly as well, unless TCU burns a timeout.
Offense, number 64, 5-yard penalty, first down. This foul qualifies for the 10-second subtraction.
And I think Gary Patterson
each team's options.
Certainly will use a timeout here, I would assume.
The reason for the runoff is that it's a foul that stops immediately a running clock.
TCU is elected to use one of their team timeouts to conserve the 10-second subtraction.
And the
timeout, TCU.
Negates the
runoff.
runoff.
This will be a 30-second timeout.
You know, at this point in time, this drive has been borderline disastrous a time or two.
All right, what do you think? Kenny Hill or Foster Sawyer? Who really belongs in the game at this point?
I think if you believe Foster Sawyer was ready to go in plus territory after the punter dropped a snap, I think he's the guy that needs to play.
Even with all this going on.
You made that decision well before this because of the way Kenny Hill played. What's going to make Kenny Hill play any better when he comes in this crucial situation? 26 seconds, 2 timeouts left, actually 1 timeout now.
But playing better is different than handling a 2-minute drill, isn't it?
It is, but both quarterbacks get plenty of that time in practice to handle the 2-minute stuff. So you're right, there is a rhythm to it, and this 2-minute situation, this drive started with 1:28 and 2 timeouts left, and it didn't start well in a couple of penalties. Those penalties weren't the quarterback's fault. They were executed well outside of the guy who had the penalty. So I think you certainly instruct Foster Sawyer, you know, this is the situation. It's situational football. You don't make a mistake with the ball. If it's clean, hit the guy. He has Taj Williams running up the middle of the field. His eyes and feet didn't get caught up with one another. So I think the kid is ready, and that decision was made beforehand, Jason. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me at all that he's still out there in this situation.
Remember, Brandon Hatfield has missed 2 field goals, 37 and 32 in this a tie game with under a minute to play. From the 38, 1 timeout left for Sawyer. The sophomore hangs in the pocket, has a tip ball. It's incomplete. Johnson nearly plucked it from the sky to set up Texas Tech.
And Justin Nelson had the first tip on it, I believe. This was intended to Stewart over the middle of the field, and this is exactly the throw that you don't want the youngster making in this situation. If it's not clean, don't throw it.
Jenkins and Johnson had a shot at it. 2nd down, 15. Clock is the enemy for TCU. They rush 4. He whips it out to Williams. Taj Williams right near the marker, and they will give him the first down to stop the clock. 10 seconds left. Clock will move when the ball is set. 1 timeout left. Got to spike it here. Sawyer does so. 9 seconds on the clock. And again, we don't know what field goal range is for the formerly injured Jonathan Song. We know Hatfield has missed twice today from inside of 40.
and 1 timeout left with 9 seconds. You can play the middle of the field between the hashes, but you have to instruct your guys, if you get the ball there, if you can't get it into the end zone, you have to get down quickly and call a timeout in the middle of the field.
From the 46, Sawyer taking time, and now he throws it out of bounds. 3 seconds left. What do you do on this final play?
You throw it in the end zone. I think you drop back and hope something good happens. The ball's tipped in the air. I think Sawyer can get this ball all the way into the end zone, but pass interference, something like that. They have trips to the right side. Typically, you buy some time, and then you throw it basically as far as you can.
Remember, TCU has missed a pair of field goals already in this game in a 17-all tie with 3 seconds left. Brandon Hatfield from 37 and 32, and neither looked good.
Yeah, you get a push, and guess what's coming next? A pull. Overcompensating, and neither one of those looked good.
Hatfield is on the field right now practicing. Brandon Hatfield is warming up in what would be about a 63-yard field goal, unless he's channeling Tom Dempsey or Jason Elam.
And what you're worried about, the longer the field goal, the lower the trajectory, and you could get a double thumper. The thump of the foot on the ball and then someone blocking it, which sometimes when that gets bouncing around, it could be returned. So, and remember, this can be returned if it's missed on the back end. You'll see if Texas Tech actually gets a returner back there. This is a long ways.
Remember, Brandon Wilson did it for Houston against Oklahoma earlier this year. Batson is back for Texas Tech. Hatfield from 63, and a whistle. Timeout, Texas Tech. Batson was all ready to rev the engine.
Timeout, Texas Tech, 30-second timeout.
And Brandon Hatfield rightly went through with the swing, and he was a good 10 yards short.
Yeah, with that prelude,
exactly.
If you're Gary Patterson, do you do that again?
I don't know why you would, because that didn't have any hope of getting there. So maybe you rethink it. The quick timeout to ice the kicker gives Hatfield an opportunity to go ahead and make the stroke. That ball wasn't even in the zip code. So now if I'm Gary Patterson, I maybe rethink that, and my best bet is to give Foster Sawyer the opportunity to run around a little bit and then throw it high, throw it far, and have it coming down point first by the time it gets to the end zone.
But if you're Gary Patterson, that first attempt couldn't have been a surprise. And the offense will take the field with 3 seconds left, a timeout for TCU. This likely will be the final play of regulation. Sawyer in relief of Hill. Final play, tie game. Sawyer looking for the end zone. This is incomplete, and we will go to overtime. Justice Nelson got his hands on it, and Texas Tech comes back to force at least one extra period.
This isn't actually very well executed by Foster Sawyer. He didn't buy enough time to allow his receivers to even get down into the end zone, plant their feet, and become jumpers. Look at their receivers are still trying to get to the end zone because their quarterback didn't buy enough time to allow their receivers to get down there. Not well executed by Foster Sawyer.
4 years ago, these two teams played 3 overtimes, 56-53, the final in that one. Bonus football coming your way. (17-17) to overtime. The focal point, the 25-yard line now, as each team will get to see the ball starting at the 25-yard line. You go for 2, starting with the third overtime. Now, again, if you throw a pick 6, something like that, you're not going to see the ball if you're on the offensive side, but you'll get your hands on the ball at least. No game clock in overtime, and the coin toss important.
Determine a winner. The winner of the toss will have the option of going on offense, defense, or the end of the field that we play at. The loser of the coin toss will have the remaining option. We'll alternate options after each overtime period. Each team has 1 team timeout per overtime period. As the visitors, I've got the same coin here. Logo is heads. The remaining teams is tails. All right, what do the call is? Call is a heads. Heads is the call. Head is a tails. So TCU, you've won the toss. What would you like to do? So they want to play on defense. That means you're going on offense. And you want to play it this way. Okay, so TCU, put your backs here. Tech, put your backs here. Texas Tech will start on offense, and we'll go in this direction. You guys, congratulations. Let's go.
Let's go.
Let's go. Let's get after it.
Our referee,
I agree
Dan
with that.
Romeo. I mean, look, he's only called 5 penalties all game long, so he deserved the opportunity for a soliloquy, Mr. Romeo. And Texas Tech will have it first. This is a run team today, and that's terribly rare for the Red Raiders, who are one of the best passing offenses the last decade in the FBS.
Yeah, last week, I mean, that isn't that long ago. They threw for 734 yards, chucked it 88 times, and quite frankly, they intended to throw it more than that, but Mahomes scrambled around and it ended up being a run attempt. But this is because of Gary Patterson inviting them to do this based on the defensive look, and Cliff Kingsbury deciding that, you know what, we have to start taking advantage of that, and they've actually done a decent job of it.
Texas Tech has run for 118 today on an average of 97 for the year. Mahomes in the offense to Ward out of the backfield. DeLeon Ward across the 20-yard line, hit by Howard and Boson, and a nice start for Texas Tech, gain of 9.
And that's typically Texas Tech's run game right there. It's a multiple screen game. They bounce it outside with the quick pass.
Freshman DeLeon Ward, who had 13 career carries coming in, gets another one here. And he meanders to the 15-yard line, first down on his 22nd carry of the day.
22nd carry of the day. We didn't think we were running back for Texas Tech, believe you me.
Those are Byron Hanspard numbers for DeLeon Ward. Remember, no game clock in overtime. Mahomes, who led a touchdown drive late in the fourth quarter to tie this game. He throws it, and that was a quail. Incomplete. Looking for Giles, second down.
And that was the run-pass option. Not much of a run fake up inside, but as you get that overhang defender, you invite him off the edge into the box a little bit to become a run defender, and then you try to hit Giles on that quick seam, but that was just poorly thrown. So many times Mahomes doesn't get his feet right, but his arm talent is so good that typically it doesn't matter. That time it did.
Empty this time on second down for Mahomes.
Don't forget about Mahomes running the football.
Mahomes scanning. Now he tucks it. There he goes. Mahomes. Touchdown! A 15-yard run.
Jason, that's a product of TCU having to be so disciplined in coverage to glue to their receivers respectively, and then sometimes there just simply aren't enough bodies to check the quarterback, and Mahomes will make you pay for that.
What a time for the first lead today for Texas Tech. Extra point good for Clayton Hatfield.
Great coverage on the back end for TCU, but the problem is when you're gluing to a receiver, your eyes are on him. You're coverage guys, and there's no one to become run defenders when Mahomes breaks the pocket. And he's very good at doing that. Typically, he's much better at being elusive with the desire to buy more time to make big plays in the pass game, but that time he gashed him in the run game.
The rushing touchdown leader in the Big 12 does it again.
Yeah, and just look at the coverage in the back end. That is beautiful in coverage initially. It breaks down when your quarterback breaks you down.
So now my question to you is, who's TCU quarterback ideally on this drive?
I think that decision was made when Foster Sawyer went into the game. Remember, this isn't a decision based on now. It's a decision based on all of the practice time they've seen both quarterbacks. Kenny Hill was ineffective, even though he's more experienced, but it's now Foster Sawyer's time to see if he can ride.
5 for 13 today for Sawyer. He will throw. That's high and incomplete. He wanted Jalen Austin second down.
You said it during the break when we were talking about this. Essentially, there isn't really any good decision. Your most veteran quarterback in Kenny Hill has not been effective. And this throw is just errant because your young quarterback doesn't set his feet and throw an accurate pass.
Paul Banks nearly had an interception. Turpin in motion, empty for Sawyer. Second down, Sawyer launches, end zone, and this ball is caught! Touchdown! Desmond White, what a play! We'll see if it stands. He beat Coleman to the football.
Foster Sawyer rips a dime down the field. And White appears to come down with it. I'm not so sure that's a catch.
Question is, when does he have control of that football?
Yeah, it's feet in and control. And that ball looked like it was moving as it went up to his left shoulder. If White catches it initially, I think he's good. I don't feel good about it after that.
You know, the ball can move, but you have to have control of the football first.
Yeah, and you have to have established yourself in bounds, and I don't know that those two things happened at the right time. And Douglas Coleman did a nice job of breaking up the basket, which means that the ball has to come into a place that's catchable for the receiver. And as the defender, once you see that, you try to mess with that area, that basket. They call it breaking the basket, and I think Douglas Coleman might have been successful on that play.
Talk about staying with a play. Coleman, who intercepted a ball earlier in the end zone, made a great play if this ends up being incomplete. We're looking for indisputable video evidence to overturn the call on the field of touchdown. That's where you start. Touchdown on the field.
You know, and making a move common with the game is part of this. Establish yourself in bounds, possess the ball, and make a move common with the game.
That's tough to. We've talked to officials about this. It's tough to do at the sideline.
Very, very tough. It's such a bang-bang thing, and the common to the game play right there is simply possessing it and going to the ground. Does White do that successfully? Is that left foot drug along the end zone as the ball goes up to the shoulder? I'm not so sure.
Coleman constantly ripping at it, makes the ball move. Is it possessed? Is it controlled? That's the question. Is it enough evidence to overturn a touchdown? We'll find out.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. Touchdown.
Yeah, stands. Not enough evidence to overturn it. Touchdown, TCU.
And I think rightly done by the replay officials. It just wasn't indisputable video evidence. So it's all about the way it's called on the field. And remember, point after touchdowns, the extra point Miami, Florida State might come to your mind. This isn't automatic anymore in this game.
Nunez will hold. Hatfield, who's missed 2 field goals, will kick. It is up. And we will play a second overtime.
That was a tremendous hold by Adam Nunez. That ball was behind him to the left, and he got the spot down to a kicker in Brandon Hatfield that isn't exactly a confident guy right now.
These offenses average 86 points a game. We went to overtime, deadlocked at 17. Here they come. Both teams are in. Second overtime around the corner. I don't know how they're going to top this one, though. Second overtime, tied at 24, TCU and Texas Tech, thanks to a beautiful grab by Desmond White.
Desmond White, and this was reviewed extensively. Watch the left foot drag right there. The toe is on the ground. The ball is possessed on the left shoulder pad. And then he takes it to the ground. And the hold by Adam Nunez, this ball is behind him with a kicker that hasn't exactly been confident. That was a great hold by Nunez right there.
So TCU has it first in this second overtime, and the big play threat Cavante Turpin, back from injury this week, is in the backfield. Turpin takes it off Sawyer's hand and gets ridden out of bounds after a short gain by the middle linebacker Jordan Brooks. Foster Sawyer in for Kenny Hill in the second half. Sawyer has thrown now 15 passes today.
And that last one, touchdown to White, was by far the best ball he's thrown today. That was a confident stroke, and he dropped it right exactly where he needed to.
Second down 8. Hunt, the tight end, in motion. Sawyer backpedaling, and he throws it out of bounds off his back foot. Third down.
And Cole Hunt, that you talked about, is the tight end or an H-back type of guy, and he's typically in there to add a hat to the run game. This time it was a play-action pass, trying to get into the end zone with the pass, and Cole Hunt was maybe the chief target on a wheel route.
Third down with a dicey kicking game for TCU. 2 misses of field goals today. Kyle Hicks, the running back, injured. The pass and run threat is out. Sawyer throws it incomplete over the middle. No marker shows its face. Fourth down, what do?
You have to kick a field goal right here. I don't think there's any question about it. I know the condition of the kicker right now, Brandon Hatfield, may not be ideal, but trying to get 3 on the board is the thing to do.
This is a 40-yard field goal for Brandon Hatfield. His long this year is 37. Hatfield, that is no good. Texas Tech celebrates and only needs a field goal to win this game.
Coach Patterson was between a rock and a hard place because it was 4th and long, and yet you have a kicker that is fragile of mind, and this ball wasn't even close to being struck well. That thing was knuckled completely out of the way, and Cliff Kingsbury knows what that means. His team just needs 3 to win it.
We started this game with 2 quarterbacks, the sons of major league pitchers, and that was a Tim Wakefield effect from Hatfield. Texas Tech needs only a field goal. How do you play this? We'll find out. Mahomes will run. He slams on the brakes and takes the hit.
I think that's your answer right there. That was a really, really conservative play. Certainly no need to throw the ball into harm's way and keep the ball in Mahomes' hand. He's your best player. Force him to make good decisions, and at the end of the day, you just need one to go through the pipes.
Cliff Kingsbury said he's comfortable 45 yards and in with Clayton Hatfield. On the ground, just short of the 20-yard line, DeLeon Ward. Ty Summers with the stop. It's 3rd down, Texas Tech. Do you dare put it in the air?
No. I think you run it again, and this would be, what, a 37-yarder if it was kicked right here.
They are on the hash mark, worth noting. Mahomes may try to drag it to the middle of the field. DeLeon Ward, the tailback. It is Mahomes deciding to find the middle of the field. Howard, the tackle, and here is the game. Clayton Hatfield, the Texan sophomore, on to kick. Cameron Batson, the wide receiver, will hold. Mahomes dinged up on the sideline. Hatfield for the win. Good! Texas Tech comes back to win on the road. What a game! It didn't look great, but it got there. And the Red Raiders come back to win. Their first lead was in overtime. 27-24 your final. Next on ESPN2, Tennessee and South Carolina. Mark Jones, Rod Gilmore have the call.